Okay, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Ron Dale, and I'm the president of the local Photographers Association here, Professional Photographers of Greater Omaha. Steve Miller is vice secretary, and then we have Jeff Funk is board member large outside, and then Roland Montgomery outside is the treasurer. I'd like to thank Diane and everybody here for showing up, and I think we've got a few more people that are showing. There's still some pre-registers that haven't come in yet. This is a little hard for me because I'm not used to doing this in front of a group of people, all right?
You do it all alone all the time?
Yeah, stand there and practice. There we go. Diane comes to us all the way from Breckenridge, Colorado. She's got a number of state awards, and she's also has a Kodak Gallery Award and the Rocky Mountain Regional Awards. She would like to speak to us about weddings. I guess I'll just turn it over to Diane, kind of let her get going with her program here. Yeah, pressure's on. I'm not much of a speaker, so I'm just going to turn it over to Diane.
Okay, you're my technical man, so I'll let you know, right? The pressure's on Steve. Not yet, though.
Oh, okay.
So I was already asked to do a ski lesson for you. Who skis? Oh, good. Cool. Okay. My one tip for you today, bicycle turns. And you're going to go, what does that mean? And bicycle turns, say I have to take the pressure right off the bat because they said, is there going to be a ski lesson? I taught skiing for 12 years. And so ultimately then that means I get to do all the mountaintop photography wedding-wise. Bicycle turns is just like when you're riding a bicycle, your feet are doing the exact same thing. Okay? So when one ski is down, which is the extended, the one that you have your pressure on, the other ski is up. And so when you pedal down the mountain, that when you come to a stance where you're like this, that's when your skis seek the fall line, which means downhill, then the pressure changes again. And you're just as smooth going into the turn as you are going out of the turn. Ta-da, that's it. That's your ski pointer.
Thank you for breaking appendages on your body.
So there's your ski tip for today, and especially now that the snow is flying in the high country. Just to give you an idea of my background, I have only been doing photography professionally for 4 years, and I'd rather say for 3 years because my first year I shot from the hip, which means 35 millimeter. I didn't know what apertures or shutter speeds were. I read the book from cover to cover for 10 years, and I'm not technical whatsoever. I could not understand what a shutter and aperture was. It was really mind-boggling. And so my first year, as I say, I shot from the hip, and it was one of those things where you take a wedding and you go, I hope it all comes out. And you send it all off to the lab and you wait for the results to come back. And I've learned that TTL, it's a wonderful operational gadget on the camera, but I only like it when I'm indoors in a situation like this. Otherwise, I never use TTL. And it's the same with any TTL camera system, that the light can go, whoa, and then stop your lens down or not give you enough punch. Many of you probably already know that, the TTL system on the camera. So ultimately, you get underexposed images. Well, I kept getting all these images back as a rank rookie beginner. I guess you can't call me a rookie. I was a professional. Yeah, I was a rookie, but I was still a professional because I was collecting money for what I was doing, even though I didn't know what I was doing. And so I'd get the images back, and then I'd look at them and cry, and then I'd try again and try again. So, you know, in the beginning, that was my first year. Then I decided if I was really going to get serious about this, I had to educate myself. So I went to MAPE, that's Mid-America Institute of Photography. I'm sure many of you are aware of Mid-America, right? Because I know some of you attended. It's one of the finest schools in the country. They have the best lineup of instructors that I've seen year after year. I'm an education hound. If I can't get enough, I go back for more. And I attribute my success to the education from these schools. One year I went down to Texas School of Photography and took from Don Blair. Then I ran up to Mid-America and took from Stephen Rudd. I've learned from Hanson Fong. And this is all in the last 3 years that I've been making these tracks, which I think has helped me get where I'm at today. I feel, what is success? And that's where you need to ask yourself, what is success? I don't know if I'm there yet or not because I'm miserable. And you're probably surprised I'm even sharing this with you. But what has happened is I've overwhelmed myself with so much work that I've lost the fine balance. And isn't that what it's all about? And that's where you have to ask yourself, am I happy? Am I not happy? Am I happy with what I'm doing? And if not, then you need to find out, when you say what you're doing, which might be photography, but what about all the other things that come to play? We'll even talk about that. But right now, 2 days ago, I wrote down on a piece of paper what makes me happy, what makes me angry, what are my frustrations. And I found that this past year I had no balance in my life. So am I successful? Right now, I don't think so. I've done very well with photography. People just keep giving me money and writing checks. They even pay me over the phone before they even see my work. Wow, that sounds really cool, and I'm proud of the fact that I've been able to carry that football and make touchdowns. But on the other hand, am I happy? And isn't happiness part of your success? So that's something else that I'll be happy to share with you today. So anyway, education. Also, I attribute my success to my art major background. In school, when there were mandatory classes of history and math and all these other courses, I focused on art because I had so much fun drawing and, you know, scribbling. That, to me, that was what was satisfying. And so with an art major background, no one had to teach me composition. It just came very naturally. I'll admit that I was able to see. But then the education came in later, where it helped me to learn what light was all about. And then, of course, later, when a girlfriend said to me, you know, it was a professional photographer out of Vail. We were coming home from a program in Denver, and I said, you know, I've been pressing the shutter for a year now, and people have been paying me money, but I still don't know what an aperture shutter speed is. And she said to me, think of it as your eye. This is where it all came together for me. I just rocketed. Think of it as your eye. The iris, the black part, is the aperture. And when it's very, very bright out, it closes down. But when it's dark or subtle lighting, then of course your eye opens up. And think of your eyelid as the shutter. And all of a sudden these light bulbs came on and I went, oh, wow. It took me 10 years to understand that. 10 years of reading books from start to finish. And so since then I've been on a roll and I've had fun with it. And I owe her a lot too, with just, it's a matter of telling someone another way to do it. Okay, so now why don't I show you some of my work? Sorry? Yeah, just the first song. And I didn't have any training on this forward. If we can have the lights, please.
Just once upon yesterday, I held you in my arms. You grew into a little girl with lovely childhood charms. Now it seems I only turn around and I see you by his side. Oh, I can't believe my eyes today, my daughter is a bride. I guess somehow I always knew this day would soon be here. Still I wonder as I look at you, what became of all the years. And no words could ever quite express the way I feel inside. Oh, I can't believe my eyes today, my daughter is a bride. All the laughter
Thank you. Blasted through those fast, didn't I? Anyway, you saw 2 weddings, just bits and pieces of 2 weddings up front, and then the remaining were, I call it the fun and the magic. My style of photography, it depends on what my client wants. That's it. I've been trained to do traditional, I've been trained to do the classic, I've been trained to do the photojournalistic style, fancy word for candids. That is where, when a client calls me and says, what's your style of photography, my question to her is, what do you want? And that is where we take it. So, do you want the traditional, you want the pose, do you want the huddle cuddle shots, which you'll hear me speak of later? It's what the client wants. And I think that is why oftentimes they're sold on me, is because of the service I provide. It's not what I want. I'm not a control freak. Yes, I am. There is one thing, I have stipulations for 98. Can you hear me in the back okay? I have stipulations for 98, and when all formals are done prior to, ooh, that rules out a lot of weddings right there, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it rules out a lot of headaches too.
But you want to know something? 98% of, thank you, that's very true. Very true. 98% of my clients, let me back up here, 85% of my clients are out-of-state people that come to Summit County to get married. 10% is Front Range and 5% is local. Those numbers are very quickly changing because as my local community has been educated and learns to appreciate photography, because every time I win one ribbon, one award, my name is mentioned in something, my best form of advertising is the newspaper. So now those numbers are changing fast and local people are hiring me more and more. It's oftentimes local people were the ones that didn't have the money. It was always out-of-state business. But 98% of all the weddings I've done for the last 2 years, all formals were done prior to. And the 2%, does that make it out of 3 or 4 weddings, that I did this year where the formals were afterwards was a total nightmare. Now, let me say this, that people in general do not respect wedding photographers. Agree? And especially, I know you. Hanson Fong? Did we do Hanson together? Hi. Good to see you. That after the ceremony, the guys only want to drink and eat appetizers. Drink first, of course. And so who's to say that they're going to give you any kind of respect during the time of which you're going to have to hold them for whatever time it takes you to do those formals? They're obnoxious, they're rude, and I've actually made it very clear to them when they treat me this way, one, they're not allowed to, or I put my camera down, but also that I don't care how damn good looking they are, I'm capable of making them look real bad. So they have to work with me. And I remind them of that. But now I've decided I don't want to deal with it anymore. I feel like, for an example, this one, it was an upscale wedding. I will never forget. Everything was supposed to be done afterwards in the same room with all the guests in the front of the fireplace because it was raining outside, so we had no place else to go. And here's this elegantly dressed mother. Her husband's been on the cover of Fortune 500 twice. And now she's standing over there going, "Get over here, now!" And then she's yelling, and then some of the girls from the bridal party ran over to get other people. They said, "Okay, well, just do this family for now, and then until we can get the other couple." So I was going from a 60 to an 80 to a 150, back to a 60, back to a 40, back to an 80. I mean, it was a nightmare. And at that point is when I said no more. And I see that happen wedding after. I don't think that has anything to do with me because I actually help them schedule their wedding day. So that's when I finally said all formals are done prior to. And I walked away with some very, very hefty weddings this year just because they didn't want to do it prior to. No problem. I have enough money to put in my pocket from other ones. If I don't work for you, that's okay. It's either a very needed day off or I work for you instead. That's how I see it now. Let me back up on my, I'm going to jump around a little bit here. I'm fairly new at the speaking circuit. I've only done 4 programs. You make it my 5th. Let me back up and tell you a little bit about my history because I want you to know that I'm very much real. My storefront doesn't have marble entrances and crystal chandeliers. I work out of my home. My history is checkered. I have a very checkered past. I've never done anything that I didn't like to do. In the 70s, which is, I graduated from high school in 71. I went to college for 1 semester, hated it, didn't know why I was there. I had no direction in my life, and so I ran off to Europe. I was 18 and a half. I spent 7 years in Europe. I got kicked out of Switzerland, and I know what it's like for a Mexican when the only words they know is green card. Because I knew that in German, Arbeitsbewilligung, and when someone says that, it makes the hair stand on the back of your neck and put your tail between your legs, because you know now that it means work papers. And that happened to me twice. I ended up in jail, I got kicked out, I negotiated my way out and ended up in a town called Garmisch-Partenkirchen south of Munich and stayed there for 5 years. Now what am I going to do in a town like that? I ended up working as a tour guide for AFRC, Armed Forces Recreation Center, and did tours to Neuschwanstein, Linderhof, Innsbruck. I had a great time. It was probably the most overwhelming time of my life, being in a foreign country, foreign language, people, just the nature of the whole experience. And when the snow started to fly, I had the opportunity to go learn how to ski because it was so much snow that our buses couldn't roll to the castles. And so Herr Schwab would say, Dian, so viel Schnee gehen wir Skifahren, you know, take off and go skiing. And so I'd take off and ski. Well, needless to say, if I want to learn right, then I've got to find someone who will teach me. So I used to bake brownies for the ski patrol because they used to teach me how to snowplow. And within 3 months' time, I had passed their examination in Austria to become a national ski patroller, the European division. But I still didn't give up my day job as a tour guide. Okay? So I thought, wow, this is really cool. I've always wanted to do this. So I hauled bodies off the mountain on weekends and did tours during the week. Made a minimal amount of pay, enough to survive there and live above a bakery. It was a very meager life, but I enjoyed it. And then, let's see, then I went with ski school full time. I didn't want to haul bodies anymore. And then after ski school, now I had did ski school for how many years? By that point it was 10 years. So it was 10 years between tours and ski school in Europe, but only 7 years over there. I came back to the US, said I wanted to live in the mountains. So I moved to Colorado, took up skiing again, taught for Keystone. I worked for a tour guide company that sent me up to the Pacific Northwest, British Columbia. They wanted to send me back over to my old territory. Okay, moving onward, I finally got burned out with that. And you know when you've reached a burnout because you kind of don't want to do it anymore. So, okay, what do I want to do next? I've always liked traveling, but I wanted to travel at somebody else's expense. So I decided that if I wanted to do this, maybe I should fly for the airlines. And there's a reason why I'm telling you all this. I'll get to the point. 6 times by major companies I was interviewed, by 6 major companies for an airline job, and I could not get past the first interview. Finally, Ozark Airlines, this little green and white airline, hired me. And I thought, you know, people used to say, the airline that hires you is the best airline. So I thought, okay, I can live with that, because right now I couldn't get in at American United. Here I was bilingual, traveled out of a suitcase. I was told I was overqualified, they couldn't afford to spend the money and take the risk of hiring me and then have me leave because I'd be bored. I heard that quite a few times. Anyway, got on with Ozark, and lo and behold, within a few years, it was 2 years to be exact, the Ozark merged with TWA. So now I'm flying the big 747s to Europe. I'm flying the London and Frankfurt routes, flying the Hawaii routes when I could. Most of the senior flight attendants had those. After 10 years of that, I got burned out again. My husband's a little worried. We just had our 10-year anniversary 2 days ago. He says I go in 10-year spans. It is time to find a boyfriend, isn't it? No, I marry the sweetest man in the world. But anyway, from that point now, I've decided I have to make a change. And there were many reasons that caused that. One, the lack of respect. And to me, that was important. When I say respect, I took more abuse from the traveling passengers and then not have a company that backed me up. And that's what burned me out. And so I finally said, okay, time to make a change. What do I want to do next? Put my wings down, took a risk, and then picked up a camera. And that's where I started with photography. So now what I've shared with you is the fact that I'm a risk taker. I can't tell you what I'll be doing 2 or 3 years from now. I might be a chainsaw artist instead. I've had fun with photography. I'm still learning. It's an ongoing thing, and especially now in the computer age. But I'm not interested in computers. So that's to say that that field might squeeze me out. I don't know if I'll get squeezed out. At this point, I might go off on another tangent and go do something else. But when I'm a risk taker, number two, I'll never do anything I don't enjoy. It has to be a passion. And when it's a passion, that's when the best work comes out. Okay, when it's a passion. What else? And the support, I have to admit. It's, you know, if you're a sole operator, it's so nice. I give a lot of credit to my spouse because he has seen me go through personality changes. I know what to throw tantrums is all about now, especially when the lab perhaps will deliver you something that's unexcusable. Notice how I'm not tolerable of that. I mean, they send you something that you sent them an average exposure, a very normal exposure, and they sent something back that didn't. I really expect and demand a lot from the people I work with, which is album companies in my lab. And if they can't meet my expectations, I don't want them. I just worked for 3 years, actually 3 years with one album company. I couldn't say enough good things about them. But lately they've had delivery problems, and I said, I'm sorry, but I have to go find another company because my end product that I deliver counts mainly on the people, other companies that put my product together. So that's really, really important. And if you want to make yourself look bad, hang in with the companies that are playing with your minds and not sending you the materials you need and so on and so forth. That's so important. And, you know, chime in any time if you have questions. Any questions so far? What you saw, nope. Okay, what you saw in the beginning were weddings. The two weddings, those were photojournalistic style for the most part. I know you're going to find it hard to believe, but when the girl was sitting there showing off her ring, she was an actress. I never had to ask her to do anything. I picked up the camera and captured her entire wedding day. The only pose shot was when the two of them were out there with that beautiful view in the background and he was kissing her, and it took 2 seconds to do that. They had no time for photography. He was an actor, she was an actress, and they played to the camera the whole time. So they were really easy. And I'm trying to think, oh yes, the outdoor wedding at Keystone Ranch. That's my normal location that I shoot at. I love outdoor photography. It's always a challenge because of the lighting situation changes all the time. You can only hope that you're going to have overcast on the day that you shoot a wedding. Training slides. I think I blasted through those. Can you tell me what slide it's on right now, please?
That looks like 45.
It's on 45. Oh, good. Okay, so I didn't go through my training slides. Okay, this one right here, this took 3rd place in state this past weekend. And I'll tell you first off that many of you who are beginning in photography, how many are beginners in photography here? A couple of you that are in the first 2, 3, 4 years of your career. Okay, 5, 6, 7, 8 years? Get an idea? 9, 10, 11, more? Okay. All right, so it gives me an idea. For those of you that are first starting, if it was a picnic wedding, a home wedding, a very small church wedding, I was there. I was there. I almost paid you to do your wedding. I would take any wedding that came along, any wedding. One, it gave me experience. Number two, it gave me exposure. I don't know if exposure was good at that point because I was using them to learn. But through doing lots of little weddings helped me work out where I wanted to be. And you have to start somewhere. So by doing lots of weddings, helped me get to where I wanted to be. Said that. This particular image, I could not get bride and grooms to do what I wanted them to do. So now I had to create it. I went down to Denver and bought a $25 Goodwill dress, bought the wedding foo-foo to hang off from Wally Mart, and put the flowers together. Well, I had a dress that had a waist on it like this. So I found a 16-year-old Summit High School student that would put it on for me. She was serving me ice cream. And we went up in 30 minutes and captured this. And as we were losing the sun rather quickly over the range, you can see where it started to get dark. And this is, of course, from Don Blair turning the body away and facing her towards the light. So you can see the light kissing her cheeks. And so that's how that was created. And so through this, now I was showing that I had nothing else to show bride and grooms, but I'd say, wow. And of course, you have to be excited. You have to be excited what you're doing so that you can excite your client and say, wow, look at this. Isn't this just so cool? And of course, I wouldn't tell them it's a 16-year-old student, But I'd say, just think, you could do this too. So this is a couple from Florida, and they're very cold, okay? We're at the top of the Continental Divide. It's 9 o'clock in the morning with a minus 40 wind chill. We practiced this pose in the hotel lobby before we went up. If you look real closely, you can see her long johns and mountain boots. And he's got his shoulders up underneath his ears. They're so cold. We took 5 frames only to capture that. Click, 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 we're out of here. And we left the Explorer running at full blast, heat-wise. And so now, because of my first one, it helped me create this one. And now couples are going, wow, we can do this. We really want to do this. I'm at a point that if you hire me, it's already a done deal, clear up front that the dress you wear is a wedding dress. I will never ask you to lay in the dirt before you exchange your vows. But afterwards, I will. And you'll say, yes, wear. Okay? Because it's a party dress. That's it. It's a party dress. And so that's how images like this are created. You have to you sell what you show. I don't remember who I learned that from, but you sell what you show, and it is so true. So if you show this kind of work, then they're going to want it. I tossed this one in because it's indoor lighting. It's just the available light. I don't use any strobes, and I will run down my equipment. I use a 503CX. I've got a 40, a 60, an 80, and a 150 only. I use bare lens for everything. I use a Metz light. I do have white lightnings, but they haven't been out of the case in 2 years. And so what I do is I go in a little earlier before everybody else, and I turn the lights on in the church the way I want them. I want them. If I want it darker in the back or lighter up front or wherever I want to highlight. And then I go up and I go, okay, and make sure I don't trip over the cords here. Meter. I like what I've got. Meter, again, is an insurance. Okay, cool. And then the flash of my camera, I will take up off the camera and hold off to the side depending on where I want my lighting, and that is it. So lighting is very simple. I'm quick. I'm not going to put up strobes and hot lights and all that stuff. It intimidates people, and I can still get quality images without having to do that. This church, they were actually married in a little sanctuary off to the side, but I did all my formals prior to the ceremony in the cathedral. The lady who was the church mouse or the gopher or whatever she was beside herself because I was doing formals over here when their ceremony was on the other side. But the architecture was the same. It was just smaller in size. People were arriving. And so this was a lot easier to take them over to the cathedral where we had privacy. The other thing that I don't do, and I'm just sharing with you things that have helped me, is I don't corkscrew the dress around the bride. It's a train and should trail behind the bride, I think. And so you'll never see me wrapping it around the bride up here in front. Now, if I did, and I believe this was Hanson Fong I learned this from, but when you wrap a dress around in front, you've got white that'll carry from here to here, which makes her look 10 feet tall, because that's what your eye is going to see. And so if it's a train, trail it behind, which I do now. There's other ways too, which I don't believe I have any slides in this selection. But now what I'll do, and we'll role play today, they did ask me if I wanted to have a bride and groom, and I'd rather use you folks and be challenged than to have Barbie and Ken and a bridal party. But now what I do is I'll take the flowers away from the bridesmaids, and or they can hold it in one hand, but each one of them will stand with part of the train in their hands, so it goes off sideways as she's facing her groom. And that's another way of doing it, and it's very, very pretty when it's draped. This, again, is just I meter before the ceremony, run up, meter once, meter twice, insurance meter, and then everything else is shot from the back of the church on tripod. So I can only hope that they'll move slowly. Otherwise, it ends up being a blur. But, you know, I'm like 4 at 4 right here. But it's romantic. A lot of these churches I work in fact, I can't think of any church I work in that lets you use flash. The backdrop, I don't even use this anymore. My modern day brides, they all want everything natural looking, and so that's what I strive for. But to tell you that this is not any kind of, there's no strobe setup. Takes my assistant 5 minutes to pop up one of these muslin backdrops. Okay, that's it. And then I use available light. All the formals have to be done prior to because it's the prettiest light, isn't it? It's natural light. Bingo. So now my brides are not even asking for strobes. They don't even know to ask for it. So I don't even haul them. I don't even tell them I have them. I just say, well, all your formals are done prior to, especially, you know, and so that's just the flash off my camera. And it probably shows, but I mean, it's still quality photography that they like. I put this one in as a selection. I had to laugh when we were taking it. Her flowers are high, and I like the way I crucified him. So this I used as an example of how you have to pay attention to what's in the background, what's in the foreground. I'll tell you another reason why I selected this image, because it was really funny when they cuddled up together. They're brothers and sister. And I laughed when they first stood there for me. I said, hey, I got to take this shot anyway. Let me just take it. But I'll tell you the things that we made the correction on. One, I moved the camera this way so that this way his head was further to the right of the ski pole. Had her lower her flowers down by her belly button. And furthermore, men are macho, okay? Men are macho. I don't want their hands underneath the flowers. So I pulled his hand out and had him put it in his pocket and show a little bit of cuff. And he had his hand down at the side, so this way it looked very, very natural. But it looks like their hands are up underneath the flowers. This is fun. Now you can see where the groom's hand is in his pocket. I always make sure there's a little cuff because I got black. You need some cut off. Otherwise, it'll all blend together. This works, and especially with this many people. And when I work with big bridal parties, I could start and line them from here to here, but you know, I just use the benches. I'll go you, and you up. You're going to stand up on the benches. Okay, I need to have the two of you switch. And so this way I can find the composition. She's sitting on the edge, she's sitting on the seat. It's really important when you sit guys down. The other thing too is I don't sit them all the way to the back. What happens is it causes their whole body to collapse when they sit all the way back in a seat. But the other thing you have to be very careful is you don't want to make people look like they're sitting on the toilet either. And you know that shot where the hands are between the legs. So I'd rather have them drop one leg behind and quarter turn. It looks more comfortable and more natural. You guys are just too quiet.
Was that the only backdrop you had to work with?
No, I've got 4 different backdrops of different colors. I have one that's called the Old Master. I've got white that has kind of a black squirrely through it. I haven't.
What made you decide on that backdrop?
This backdrop?
You had some challenges.
This is inside the church. One of the things that you're going to see in some of my album work is that the only thing I shoot forward is the ceremony and ceremony only. And then once the ceremony is over, I don't shoot anything in that direction. I will pick every other direction. Who did I learn that from? Hansen Fong. I learned that from Hansen Fong. He taught me that. He says you don't shoot everything in the same direction. You know, like bridegroom ceremony, bridegroom, mom, dad, bridegroom, mom, dad, brother, sister, yes.
If you shoot everything to the front, you're going to give them no variety, and everybody's wedding is going to
Exactly.
look exactly like everybody else's wedding.
Exactly.
You just need to, I guess I've just been, because I get tired of doing that. And I've
So,
always been looking for other parts of the church to use.
and that's a very valid point, and by making that point, be challenged depending on the size of the bridal party you have, and don't shoot the altar. Don't shoot the altar for formals, just reserve it for ceremony, and then find out how creative you can be shooting in other directions.
I'll still shoot some formals up at the altar because it seems like that's what they expect.
Right?
But after we do that, I say, well, now let's go do some creative stuff.
Give them
And
variety.
that way, because some people might look at that and say, I don't like that. You know, why didn't we do this up at the altar? And then there's some people say, well, why'd you shoot this up at the altar? We want it to be all over the church. So
Well,
it's catch-22.
I do. When people hire me, they've hired me for my creatistic abilities, my artistic abilities, and the fact that I've got some good ideas that they don't challenge me on this. I never have a bride and groom. I've had sometimes the moms right after the wedding, they'll say, okay, come on, let's get over here so we can get this rolling, and they start heading for the altar. And that's great, because if they'll stand that way, then I can shoot the other direction. She's just moved everybody for me. And I never raise my voice at weddings. Never, never, never. I will never be the obnoxious wedding photographer. I don't even wear a watch. My assistant does. I mean, I will never, in fact, I'll stand and just watch the fiasco unfold. But it'll never, and I cannot lose my cool, and they know that. And they know that from my interview with them. I say, if things go chaotic, you know, my meter's ticking, okay? So I'm just real calm. If I start to stress out, it'll show in my photography. But this is really nice. It's a full group. Now, this next shot, some people like this, and they're happy with a formal that looks like this. And some don't mind the jazz hands. The jazz hands are fun. And I will know in the beginning, before I even do a wedding, whether jazz hands are acceptable or not, if they want huddle cuddle shots or not. I will know all this, because we will have nitpicked all the details apart prior to their wedding day. First off, let's say they hire me. Most people hire me a year to a year and a half in advance. I'm already booked through to August already of next year. So now, if I write down some information, I'll call them 2 months in advance and say, let's nitpick some of your details apart, or you call me when it's time that you need a schedule. And then 1 week prior to, when I call you and say, Sarah, let's go over these details, you're never to say to me, well, Diane, you should already know all this stuff. She knows the reason why I'm calling. Because her wedding is the very next wedding I'm doing. I don't have 20 weddings between hers or before her wedding. And so now we'll nitpick, I'm so sorry Grandpa passed away. He's off the list. Okay. There's a divorce in the family. Now I've got 2 sets of parents. Oh, and over on this side, okay, Dad's remarried, Mom's there by herself. Okay. And we nitpick every detail apart. Is jazz hands okay? You want some traditional? Okay, just bridal party traditional, no single shots traditional, okay? And now I know how much time I have to work with prior to, before we get her tucked away. So anyway, that's how that happens. Not every, sorry, I keep whacking this thing. I mean, is it like bursting in your ears every time I hit my hip? Nope. It's video. Okay. So anyway, this shot is neat. I really like this. First off, we did all our formals prior to. They went through a ceremony. When they went out that door the first time, they kissed for me, which is a planned candid. Because what they do is people are still inside the church, and they walk down to the back of the church, and they push those doors open, and they reach over and kiss each other because I'm waiting for that shot. They bail to the right. They go back in the backside. In the meantime, the ushers will usher everybody outside. We sign the marriage license on the piano. Now, they're not waiting on me. They're running to their horse and carriage. That's what's so cool about this. It's fun, it's exciting, and all these folks aren't standing around waiting on me. And I don't have Uncle Harry shooting over my shoulder. And if he did, I didn't care anyway, as long as he doesn't stand in front of me. So now they run out to their horse and carriage, click, take that shot from the back of the carriage, because once they hop inside, they're going to pop champagne and they're on their way. And this couple, they had 300 people at their wedding on this tiny boat called the Dredge. I'm surprised it's still floating. And if the fire marshals knew about it, it wouldn't have happened. But, you know, what they wanted from me is they said, you know, we would give anything to have a shot of everybody. How do you get 300 people in an image? So across the street, the Landmark condos, I knocked on a few doors, found out who the property management was. They gave me a key. So I could, my assistant and she could hold at bay. I'd run all the way upstairs to the 4th level and then shoot downward and get everybody. But by this time, when they walked out of the church, it was pouring rain. And so we waited for it to get down to a sprinkle to take this shot. So we were very fortunate. It was just coming down real heavy. So we lost that. But you know, if the client wants it, I will jump through hoops to get whatever they want. And what did I offer the property management company? Her name is Sherry. I gave her my card, said, here, you want a nice shot of yourself sometime? Call me. You want it for your husband or your boyfriend? Call me. I'll take care of you. Do you want to know something? She'll give me a key anytime I want now. She'll give me a key anytime I want. This particular wedding was a nightmare for a photographer and video photographer. This is up at the Keystone Outpost. Mega bucks wedding, lots of people in the bridal party. It doesn't end there, trust me. There's like 23 people in this bridal party. And what they did was in the beginning, each bridesmaid came out with a candle. It was a candlelight wedding. So that means it was in total darkness, and she came out with a candle. And so as each bridesmaid came out, they turned the light up, tweaked it just ever so light. So it was a photographer's nightmare, and the video photographers were going ape because you couldn't see. Plus, once you metered your lights, they were messing with the house lights all throughout the ceremony, depending on whether it was the lighting of the candle for the couple, I'm very fortunate that I had really good photography out this wedding, but it was a true challenge. So not only do I have a instant light meter, but I have a spot meter too. And so I made sure that both my instant and my spot were reading the same once I had discovered that. So when I went to the back, I had that around my neck too, so I could spot them at the time when the lights came up at each interval.
You mean the video man didn't just turn on his light?
I don't care what, no. The video man did not, no, they said no lights from anyone, no flash photography, and it wasn't even a church. No flash photography, no video lights, you name it. Do we have any video photographers in here? Couple? Okay. You're definitely challenged. I mean, because the lighting situation is so critical, and I know that many of you need the hot lights to capture what you record. These are just fun shots. We did the formal stuff too. I got to keep my hand off my pocket. I'm sure that I keep banging the noise back there. But these are just fun shots, huddle cuddle shots. They just love that. Look at the girl on the right. I mean, it's hysterical. It's cool. Obviously a Christmas wedding. Dad, now these were candidates just before walking down. I didn't say anything to him. I ran up, clicked, and then I headed on down the stairs to where the ceremony was to be held. He gave her a quick peck and I was out of there. Thought that was cute. Ta-da! I can work with any one of these people as long as they work with me. I can work with any of them. I really, like for an example, let's say that down the aisle, this is the wedding aisle, okay? This is where they're going to be coming down. If the video photographer is on that corner, I'm not going to place myself here. This is how you work with them. I'll stand over here. So now they've got a nice clean view. In fact, oftentimes they work in pairs. You've got one there and you've got one here. And I'm over here. It is so easy. And oftentimes they'll say, hey, Diane, where do you want to stand? You know what I'll do is I'll pick the largest mother. Excuse me. That didn't sound right, did it? There's two moms. And whoever the heaviest mother is, I will stand on the opposite side because I want to make her look skinny. Okay? Does that make sense? So if they're coming down the aisle and the mom is on this side and the gentleman's on this side, I will stand and so that she's the furthest away from the camera. That will be the place I will stand, is from the heaviest mother, so I can make her look skinny. But of course, once I stand over here, the video photographers have me on the back of my head. So I do try to work with them, and there's very few weddings that that I work with video photographers anyway, and the few that I do work with, we are such a team, it's unbelievable. I love them. I think they're great. Excuse me. I'm getting all choked up over them. I think they're great, and at times they've turned their lights on for me when I've needed them to, like when we're in a dungeon situation, they'll flick on their little light on the camera for me. So anyway, enough of that. And we always love these guys. But you want to know something? They don't bother me either. And people can take as many pictures as they want. It just so happens if it's during the critical time of the ceremony, if it's during the most important part, my assistant knows to walk up and this is all she has to do. She doesn't even have to say anything. Just put her hand slowly on their shoulder, squeeze it till the blood cuts to their head. Then they know they're supposed to be seated. No, just go up and touch them gently, and they know now that they're not supposed to be up. If I get someone who's persistent and is always up, then my assistant will say something, and then, you know, she's trained to be polite. I took this, it was kind of funny when I took this, I heard everybody behind me going, what is she taking that shot for? And I just thought it was great because I took it as a, as a training example. This is not uncommon, we all deal with it. Isn't that a beautiful hoopah too, with all the flowers? It was probably one of the prettiest ones I've ever seen. This shot is pretty plain, but we'll get into this later when we're talking about marketing, and I'll share with you now because I do tend to jump all over the place, but that's what weddings are all about. I do shots like this, shots of the room, shots of all the setups. Here's one of the room right there. Oftentimes the brides even like these. But what I do is I make these into 8x10s and then give them to the lodges or give them to the place where they were married at. They love these in their books. And then, of course, on the side, I'll put my label, Dian McGowan Photography. My name is all over the community. It's all over the community. If you're a cake baker, 90% of the cake shots in your book are mine, with my name on it. If it's the caterers, they get pictures. And I worked with this guy out of New York, and he said, yeah, he says, I make really good money, especially off the other services, because I'll charge them, you know, 58, 48 bucks for an 8x10. And to me, this is my cheapest form of advertising. I will make sure I get shots like this, and I don't even tell them. I stick it in a nice envelope, slap my label on, and say, hey, that was a fun wedding, wasn't it? That's it. That's my best form of advertising. They love these. They use them. And if they use these images and reprint at all, because I send them the negative too, and I write on there, I, Dian McGowan of Dian McGowan Photography, give you the copy permission to use this image as you feel free to. The payment is photo credits only. And so even if they put this in a book, and there's a book, I brought a couple. May I have this book for a second? There's a couple floating around. It's called the Rocky Mountains Bride's Guide. This book is about me. And it's really kind of cool because services that have used my images, I didn't charge them for them, but my name's all over this book. And that's what's so great about it. In fact, I just talked with the girl, she's the owner of the company. I talked to her yesterday to make sure she had all the pictures that she needed. She says, Dian, this book is about you. Your photography's all throughout this book, even more so than last year. This was last year's issue. I think about 6 or 7 images in this. So anyway, that's how my name gets around. Remember, I'm the one that started out doing picnics, ranch weddings. I shouldn't say ranch weddings, those are all upscale. Home weddings. I did as many as I could, and I'll work into how I got to where I'm doing this today. Okay, this is my office. And we built a beautiful luxury home. I feel like I'm camping out in a luxury home because it's not completed. And so I was telling you, I don't have a marble storefront. I'm just as real as the next guy who works out of his home. Right now, I haven't even bought furniture because we're still trying to get our home finished. So any monies I make, of course, gets dumped back into the business. I should buy business furniture, shouldn't I? And so this is where I work. There's the telephone. I just bought a fax machine for the first time. My equipment, again, is Hasselblad and a telephone. That's it. There it is. And then if you look the other direction, that's the other pile. Okay? And when clients come to interview me, this stuff isn't here. Everything's tucked away. You know where most people put dishes? That's where it all goes underneath. That's our built-in bench. We don't have a table yet. Table's on loan from the neighbors. But you can see all the Miller's boxes. Miller's is my lab. I love Miller's. They're great. They didn't pay me to say that. That's where I work. I know where all my stuff is. I know how to get to it. If I have a client come over, it's neatly stacked. Right now, it's a mess. I ran and took these shots last night at 4 o'clock because I got to thinking I really need to share with you how I operate, and so that you don't think I have crystal chandeliers and marble floors, and I mean, this is how I operate. That's upstairs. The 3rd level is all office area, and it's empty. So I have a few things piled there. I haven't even taken the wrapper off the award, but I know where things are, and I know how to find them. It'd be terrible if I did have to file my stuff away. I wouldn't be able to find it. And there's my file cabinet. That's it. I mean, I didn't move anything. That's my file cabinet, okay? This is where I interview. It's in my home, and right behind that sofa table, there's a nice sofa and chair. I'll pull out, there it is. I do not interview in the kitchen. I interview in the living room. I'll pull in, I could show them a show album, and if I show them a show album, it has 5 or 6 weddings in it, but they're all images I selected, and they were from 3 years ago, weddings. And so I'd rather show them something current. Right now alone, this is why I'm like so stressed, is I'm working on 12 40-page albums. So you can come visit me at any time and see an album at any particular stage, but you're going to see what my client gets, not what I choose to show you, okay? And so there's always something in production. So I sit them down, I don't play music, I don't offer them chocolates, I don't want their fingerprints all over my stuff, And so I usually try to keep my interviews to an hour. They can see from my work if I'm qualified or not, and they always leave with something. I lease this, every 2 years I lease a brand new Ford Explorer, so if you want a good deal, I'll give you one, because this one is probably one of the finest vehicles I've ever owned. You know, it was worth it to me. I haul bride and grooms around. We go up to locations where most cars can't go to. And so I've got another year and a couple months left on this Explorer. It's wonderful to haul bride, to show up like that. It's always clean and spiffy. It's clean inside. And that's how I pick them up and deliver them. And oftentimes they'll leave in a horse and carriage, and they'll go 1 mile down the road, and they hop out and they hop in with me, and we go on location. That's Breckenridge behind us. And I stuck this slide in here for a reason. It has nothing to do with weddings. It talks about persistence. And if you want something bad enough, you're going to go for it. We just built a new home. You heard me say that. And we were supposed to have square tiles, okay? And we were invited to a house that had these gorgeous flagstone stone floors. And so when we went in, I couldn't take my face off the floor. It was like the whole evening long, through the bathroom, through the kitchen, and some of the countertops, and it was gorgeous. And I said to my husband, I want this. And he goes, well, check into it, see how much it is. Well, I checked into it, and I picked the color I liked. It was gorgeous. I went down and said, I'll take this one. And 7,000 pounds of slate, ungauged slate, was delivered to the house and was sitting in our garage. It all came in from New Delhi, India, and I didn't know it. My husband choked when he found the cost. I had not a clue. I have no respect for money. But anyway, he said, honey, you wanted it. You have to install it. Because we paid so much for the stuff, we couldn't afford to pay an installer. It was like $80 per square yard to have this installed in my area. So I taught myself. I've been still working on it since last April. We have 3,400 square foot home. We have over 2,000 square feet of ungauged slate. And I've been paying the price. That's why I don't have nail polish on. But, you know, all these stones, so basically what I'm trying to say is if you want it bad enough, you're going to do it. If your passion is there, this wasn't passion, this was stupidity. But basically, I wanted the stone bad enough that I was willing to install it myself. I so much want to be successful with the images that I take that I will do whatever it takes, educationally, vehicle, whatever, to get the bride and grooms up to the locations and get them to do what I want them to do. And I know when I say I want them to do, it's because they hired me because they know what I'm capable of. So that's just to say persistence. This is my kid, and this was part of my reality check about 2 days ago when I made my list. And the things that make me happy is the time that I spend with my husband. I don't have a picture of him. I should. But I ran around at 4 o'clock taking these now, remember. But this little thing makes me happy, and this is who I want to spend my time with besides my husband. This is my other kid. And she's adorable. That's Barney Bear. She's an old English sheepdog. She's 1.5 years. This is what puts a smile on my face. I just love her. So this year, as I was looking at what I've done to myself, I have been so busy I can't even afford to take my dog for a walk. So what is success? That's why I'm trying to say that, are you successful? Where's your happiness? And this dog gives me happiness, but I haven't even had time to take her for walks. So now I'm trying to find balance in my life. I think that's so important in your business. Okay, let's see what's next. Are you ready for a break? It's 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Do you want a break? Coffee break? Okay. Any questions? Oh, you guys are so cool.
What type of film do you use for indoor and outdoor? Are you the same film?
I'm a PMC 400 person. And I know that there's other wonderful films like VPS. I used to use VPS 100. There's not VHS, what is it called? PPF. I've used that before too for evening shots. But now I am not too bright when it comes to technical. I know you too. And so, yeah. And so I find that if I change out film, I am so on when it comes to doing a wedding that I can't stop and think, oh God, I just went from 400 to 100. Oh God, I just went to VP. I can't do that. I just pack everything 400 PMC and walk out the door. And that way, and even my assistant is trained to go, you now have VPS 100, change your equipment. She's even trained to say that, as I hand her a film back and say, roll it out. And even though she knows to roll it out, it's always, roll it out. Here's your PMC 400. I mean, she's just trained to say that each time. We've got it down to a system. Anyway.
Before we take a break, I forgot to mention our sponsors also for today, Supra and Stockhouse, and also Rockbrook Camera. Kick in a little bit. We'll have some door prizes at the end. Feel free to step back and visit with our representatives back there. They always give us a lot of support, and we really appreciate it. So take about a 10 or 15 minute break and come on back.
Also, real quick, I'd like to share with you that the music that you heard from that first song, it's called New Traditions. These tapes sell for $23. I don't like making small change, so I'll take a $20 for it. And this music, it's not copyrighted, it is copyrighted. You cannot duplicate what they do, but this is uncopyrighted. Am I saying this right? You can use this music for your bride and grooms. And I sell these even to my, yes. And my bride and grooms use this music, and that was the first song you heard on there, and this is the full album, and the full album CD goes for $23, and I sell these for $20. And then my very last song that I play on here is all instrumental. So one side is all words, the other side's instrumental, and Kay will be taking care of that. And also later we'll get into it, but I have also my contracts, which I'll show you later too. Okay, thank you.
Sure, everybody got it. Thank you. Come to our weekly meetings, and also we are here videoing our program today. So if you are interested in purchasing a video of this program, they are back here inside. Elizabeth is out there to take your ones for that also. We appreciate their help on this too. Thank you. And where'd Diane go? She's gonna leave me up here all by myself and you're
Logan's okay.
And now you have the pressure.
You can do it, Ryan.
Oh, this is good. Am I on 0? I'm on 0.
Usually most slideshows, they get started about the third time.
Any questions so far?
Oh,
Yes.
I have a question. How do you present your product to your prospective customers?
That's a very good question, and that's what we're going into next.
Good introduction.
Whoa!
This was planned, right?
Yes!
You're good at this, you just don't know it.
Oh, I don't believe I did this. Give me a minute. I had photographed yesterday. I just took second place in state competition with one of my albums, and I photographed it yesterday. Not yesterday, I flew yesterday. Friday, and ran it over so that you could see one of my finished products of what my client gets, as opposed to trying to haul these big albums around. But before we even get into that, I have 1 through 12 contracts. And we're going to talk and role play about how in handling the clients. Now, before I even get into the contracts, let me say this, is that when my phone rings, as your phone rings, goes, "Hi, my name is Sarah, I'm getting married." "Oh, congratulations, where are you getting married at?" That's my first response. And I'll tell you what, I have called other photographers, and it makes me cringe to hear how I consider some of these people my equals. There's first, second, and third in state, and we share that position. And I called my competition. And I had my husband do it, put my husband up to it, and I'm on the other line listening to see how they were going to handle it. And you want to know something? I'm really surprised they even pulled off the job, because they didn't ask enough questions. There was no excitement in their voice. I think that's so important. Now, in the beginning, I'm going to back up and say that if you were to call me and say, "Hi," here we go. call me. Ring.
Dingy dingy.
Hello, this is Diane.
Hi, this is Kay Santee, and I'm gonna get married next year.
Hey, congratulations, Kay. And where are you getting married at?
Augustana.
You're getting married
Augustana
at
Church.
Okay. Wow, beautiful church. And is that a morning or evening wedding?
Well, we're thinking about candlelight, but we don't know because my groom wants to have a morning wedding.
Okay, great. So at least you have the church secured, correct?
Well, we're just in the planning stage.
Your planning stages, okay. And do you know where your reception's gonna be held at?
Well, we're thinking about the Memorial Union
Okay,
or
okay.
the community center.
Nice place. All right. And how many people are attending?
Oh, we haven't gotten that far yet.
Do you know if there's gonna be 100, 200 people?
Oh yes, there'll be 100.
Okay, that's about average size. Now you see all my comments. First off, I was excited for her, congratulate her. Number 2, I know location now. Number 3, I know approximate the size. It's not 20 people, family and best friends. There's gonna be maybe 100, maybe 200. So what I've done right now is I'm talking to her, I'm qualifying her. Even though she is interviewing me, I am qualifying her to see if I want to do her wedding. Point made? So, okay, now let's back the clock up. Well, how did you get started into this, Diane? I mean, I did all these little mediocre weddings. And I want to get into a price structure here for a second. And this is so important because every time I go to a program and hear a lecture, they keep saying, raise your rates. You've got to raise your rates. We're in a very specialized field, and I feel that it's lifetime, raise your rates. And you hear that all the time. I think that's unfair. And the reason why I say that is because product needs to equal price. Price needs to equal quality. So in the beginning, I thought, whoa, man, I don't know what to charge. What do I do? Okay, so I had a creation fee, an hourly creation fee. Thought, okay, this is good. This is going to cover all my expenses, and I get to pay myself a little bit. I get to stress myself out, do all the hard work. Okay, I was happy with that, and I did lots of little weddings. Now, as I discovered that I was booked every weekend, and sometimes during the week, because we are a resort community, I thought, okay, this means I am in demand. So if I'm in demand, I need to raise my rates, okay? So I raised my rates some more, and I'm still getting booked. Now, in the meantime, as I raise my rates, and I'm still getting booked, I'm also striving very hard to improve the quality of what I offer, okay? So now, it's just like a little snowball, and as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So now, I'm getting to the point now that I don't have to do the picnic weddings, and I don't have to do the little home weddings. So, okay, great, I get to do a church wedding now. This is so cool. And then I got to do cathedral weddings. Ooh, this is even better. Ooh, I even get to fly out of state to do a wedding. Ooh, this is even, wow, I like this. But I kept charging more and more. And I will tell you, today, I'm at a point now, I don't know where the bottom line is. They just give me their charge card over the phone. They write me checks on the spot. I don't know where their bottom line is. And even the last customer that came in, before they got there, I said to my husband, I'm going to charge them $700 more over the last one, just to see if they're going to bite. And guess what? They pulled their charge card out and go, here, we'd like this package. Blew me away. I don't know where the bottom line is. So what has happened is you've created desirability. Okay? You've made yourself desirable in your community. You've made yourself desirable so that if you called the Breckenridge Resort Chamber, my name is the first one to come out. If you called your cake baker, and they'll say, oh, have you got your photographer yet? Because he knows I give him prints. If every cake he bakes, he gets prints. If you called your florist yet, every florist will tell you, call Dian McGowan. I love it, and it's an ego trip for me when I ask the bride, oh, where'd you get my name and number from? Oh, where should I start? Okay, so it has paid off that even from the meager weddings, I took pictures of flowers, took pictures of cakes, and built that reputation up. Okay, on the cakes, I used to blast them with light. I didn't know any better. Okay, here's a cake shot. They were just happy to have it. Now I tripod it, meter the light, get some highlights and shadows on there. Nobody can beat my cake shots. And so when your eyes go through, it looks elegant. Floral, the same. I used to blast it with light in the beginning. Now I understand light. I'll use natural light highlights, find something in the background that carries the eye away with it. I mean, it's unbelievable where it can go. So I'm telling you that product equals price, but your price equals the quality you produce. And as you become more in demand, I'm not going to yell and rant and rave and say, raise your rates, because you might put yourself right out of business. If you raise your rates, maybe your quality isn't there. Okay? If you raise your rates to the point where now people do not appreciate what you're doing, they're going to say, oh, he charges way too much. I hear people say it about me too. They say, she charges a lot, but she's worth it. And so there's a difference. Okay? The other point that just escaped my mind. Don't call me airhead for nothing. Let's see. So anyway, that's the point of building up your business. Now, the other thing, too, for balance in my life for next year, and I'm going to repeat that word because I didn't experience this past year, I've decided I'm not going to do any more than 2 weddings a month for next year. So I am booked, as far as I'm concerned, through till August. I have 2 weddings a month already on the books, and they're all big ones. Now, as I role-played with Kay, by the way, Kay's from Iowa, met her in a class, there's quite a few of you. As she was calling to inquire about my services, I was already qualifying her. She told me where and where the reception is. If they call me and say, hi, I'm getting married at Keystone Ranch. Wow, what a great place. Congratulations. What's your name? Janet. Wow, Janet, you've picked an awesome place, and they will take care of you. I already know that. Keystone takes care of their clients. It's a 5-star resort. It's a done deal. You're taken care of. Wow, and I already know they can afford me. By qualifying them, I already know they can afford me. Now, the ones that say, well, I found you in the phone book, and we just want to know what you charge. Price shopper, okay? I charge anywhere from $3,000 on up to $10,000. I mean, I throw a figure from my lowest to my highest. I know it's a price shopper. Where are you getting married at? Well, we're going out on the bluffs of Sapphire Point. So, oh, what a beautiful spot. That's gorgeous. Let me double check to see if my calendar is open for that date. When is it? It's open. But I say, gee, I am so sorry. I'm already booked for that date. Can I recommend to you another photographer? So I give them away because I don't want them. I don't want to say no to her because by saying no puts me as a snob. I am, but I don't want her to know that. Okay? So basically what I'm trying to say is you don't do what you don't want to do. And I don't want to do the Sapphire Point wedding because 1, they're not going to spend any money on their flowers. Number 2, they want the lowest price they can find. And I tell them up front too, is you can always find someone who will do it for less. All right? If quality's, and then those are the price shoppers. I say if quality is important to you, you're talking to the right photographer. But I am not everyone's photographer, and I don't want to work for everybody. And now I have reached a point in my life where one more wedding can go by without my service. That's okay. I'm not going to feel like I have to beat the payment down. I got to do this wedding, that wedding, every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, during the week. That drives me crazy, and that's where I'm at right now. So anyway, that's really important. If getting every wedding to bring your standards up to where you want to be with your photography is there, that's great. Take every wedding that comes by. But as soon as you find yourself climbing the ladder, you can charge more and charge more and charge more and do less. I would rather work fewer weddings for more money. Now, if I've met my quota for 2 weddings in a month, now I want you to know too, I don't come from money. This is important for you to know. Every dime I've earned has gone back into the business. I was making from $24,000 to $28,000 a year as a flight attendant for TWA. And my husband, who's a pilot, he used to be a box hauler for DHL, was making $28,000 a year. Okay, he's now captain with United. We both have gone up in our businesses. But every dime I've earned, and not from our personal account, but from my business account, for every dime I've earned, I've put it back into the business. The one thing that choked me this year was buying a $4,000 lens, a 40 millimeter Hasselblad. Oh, that made me choke. But I learned something from someone this year that said, not this year, but a few years ago, close your eyes and pay. Close your eyes and pay. If you need it, you close your eyes and pay. Now I have to put the fact aside that I spent that kind of money on a lens, but on the other hand, now that I have it, I can't imagine that I'd never had a 40 millimeter lens in my selection to use because I do a lot of panoramas now in the album. and you can't do panoramas with 80s and 150s. I mean, you know, you have to stand a few miles back, but I can't believe I can't work now without the 40. But what I'm the point I'm making is for every dime I earned, I dumped it back into the business. And when I was shooting 35 millimeter, my Canon EOS, okay, that's where we all started, is with little 35 millimeters, unless you were born into the business. I duplicated my camera system. I was so proud of my 35 millimeter stuff. I thought I was really hot, you know, had a great bracket and everything. But when I upgraded to a Hasselblad, it's not like I had money to burn. I didn't. But my husband, I have no respect for money, but for him, he is the accountant in the business, he found a way possible for me to have that equipment. So we purchased about $10,000 worth of equipment, and then I made a monthly payment. It was like $250, $280 I think, a month. It was like a car payment back to pay this equipment off. It took me 2 years to pay off my Hasselblad equipment. It was so cool. And I thought, wow, I can do this. I can have the finest working equipment, write it off as a monthly expense, operating cost. Gee, why not do the same thing with a vehicle? So that's when we said, do I want to buy a vehicle? Let's lease it. So every 2 years, I lease a brand new, I mean, it smells new, even when I deliver it to the next person after the 2-year lease is up, because I haul bride and grooms in it. So now, what I've done is I've slowly taken every little thing I've had and dump it back into the business, and have grown and grown and grown. I don't have a lot. I have a camera and I have a telephone. I have 40, 60, and 80. I have 4 lenses. I shoot bare lenses. I should put something over neutral density or something to protect my lenses. But anyway, that's where I'm at today. Okay, so now I've reached my quota of 2 weddings a month. And I'm up there. I am the most expensive photographer in Colorado right now. So I've got a client. I do have an open date. Do I want it or don't I want it? Oh yeah, Cordillera wedding, yes. If you have a wedding at Cordillera, you have to buy out the hotel, 26 rooms for 3 days. And it's exclusive, and it's way, way up on top of a mountain west of Beaver Creek. If you are going to have your wedding there, there's no bottom line. Oh man, do I want this wedding or not? I've already reached my quota. I think I'll tack on an extra 1,000. Now let's make it 2,000. So now they've interviewed me, and they pull out their MasterCard. It floors me. So now I've taken on 3 weddings instead of 2 weddings. Isn't it so hard to say no to money when people are willing to give it to you? But what's the bottom line? So the point I'm making to you is that I'm not telling you to raise your rates. I'm telling you that if you find yourself booked, if you are in demand, you raise your rates. If you find that you're still booked, you raise them again. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have been through this routine before too, where you go, okay, now how do we put this on paper, and how do I introduce myself? It took me a long time before I came up with this, because you know, I hemmed and hawed. I wrote down feelings and thoughts. First off, I always thank my client. Thank you for inquiring. I love the opportunity to provide the quality of service you deserve. That's a great statement right off the bat. Wedding, this is value. Your wedding photographs will be your most treasured and valued investment. That's a good word. I love that word. I forgot who I learned that through. And I'd like to ensure that your memories are captured in print honestly and vividly. Great comment. I pride myself, so this talks about me now and how I feel about their wedding day, in my ability to reflect the emotions and personality of each day. Let's go down to the next one. I love the last line. That's the best one. My success in wedding photography can be attributed to my extensive studies with world-renowned photographers, Don Blair, Stephen Red. They don't know all those people, but if they want me to list them, I will. This one is the best line. I love this. Please refer to my resume for details regarding my qualifications, and note that due to the exclusive nature of my services, availability is limited. Ooh, I like that. And dates need to be secured well in advance. Doesn't that make you feel like you need to sign up now? I'm limited, and I'm booked. So now it gives you a feeling of, wow, here's quality photography. I really like this. I'm already turning down. I can't work July 4th. I've already had 5 inquiries for July 4th, but I was already booked 3 months ago for July 4th of next year. Already New Year's of 90, This is 97, 98 is already gone. I mean, it blows me away the number. People will book in advance. The best quality services are gone right up front. But here, this tells you right there. I like this. And you don't need to write anything down because I do have these packets, and all this information is right in here. This is good because it tells about my education. My face is supposed to go up there. I hate having my picture taken. But anyway, if you've won one award, aren't you an award-winning photographer? Okay? And you know, even though I have my opinions about state competition and Rocky Mountain regionals and so on and so forth, I mean, I sometimes have a problem with our panel of master judges and some of the things that they say and do, but if you can pull one ribbon and toot your horn about it, that right there is part of your marketing. If you win one lousy ribbon, that's your marketing tool that you can boast to the world that you just won a ribbon. You are now award-winning. Okay, but your photography, CCP, I'm not quite sure what that is. I haven't decided what the other C is for, but anyway, your photography better hold its water when they come to see it if you've won that ribbon. But I'm just saying, keep your quality up there. It is so important. Schools I've gone to, this is all within a 3-year time. Remember, first year was 35 millimeter shoot from the hip. This is good. Questions clients should ask when interviewing professional photographers. This is so good because now I've set them up to interview other professionals. What format do you use? Wedding photography is high risk. What have you used for backup if you have equipment failure? Do you work with an assistant who presses the shutter? I work with an assistant. I have 3 assistants. And number 1 can only have off if number 2 will back up. Number 2 can have off only if number 3 will play. Number 3, that's an iffy person, but I've got 4 or 5 other people on the list that want to stand by my side and learn. And I'll teach them anything they want to know, as long as all they have to do is haul equipment. I'm not going to set up, tear down, change. I do change film backs with number 2 and on, but number 1, I can work with my eyes closed. Number 2, my number 1 assistant is the best. I can work with my eyes closed and do a quality job with her. And, but all the other ones, I change film backs. As a wedding photographer, what attire do you wear? I was following up another wedding. It was upscale at Beaver Creek Chapel, and the girl that was hired, I couldn't work for this girl. And I was standing there in a 3-piece suit. And this girl had a tank top, white tank top, and a spaghetti string summer dress. And she was doing their formals. I think image has a lot to say about who you are. And so if you dress the part, you're going to feel the part, you're going to look the part, and you're going to earn their respect. But if you show up with a short sleeve shirt on, and your shirt's not tucked in, or the spaghetti, you know, if you want to be professional, you're going to look professional. What professional affiliations are you currently active with? You know, I think that's so important to your credits. One of the questions that a few of my educated clients will ask is, what happens if you get sick? Let's see, I've had the flu twice in the past 4 years, and I still worked. It did affect the end product because they were a little blurry, because what happens, your head swells up, the veins swell up around your eyes. And so it does affect your eyesight. But I'd have to be on my deathbed not to be there. But it's so nice to know that if I'm affiliated with these professional organizations, that I can pick up the phone and go, man, I just had my legs broken. Can you can you help me find a qualified photographer to do my wedding? And I will honor, if any of you were to call me that you needed me for your wedding, I would honor your contract and what you do. And I hope that you do the same for me. Honor the contract. I would do everything as you would as you operate. And I give the negatives away, so I'd expect you to do the same for me. Ha ha ha. Nobody's gotten walked out yet. Okay. What? Giving the negatives? I'll get to that. It's so cool. Okay. When was the last educational seminar you attended? Well, doesn't that just show that you're trying to stay up with the industry, the current changes and trends? Who controls your wedding day? Good question. A good photographer will help with the planning and itinerary for a stress-free day, allowing the couple to maximize their time with family and friends. You know, if you want to take a piece of paper, let's write down, tell me, What time of day is your wedding? It's at 2 o'clock. Her wedding, and it's at a church wedding, right? It's a big cathedral because it's, well, work. Okay. It's a picnic. Sorry. Find somebody else. Okay. 2 o'clock wedding. Let's back the clock up, and your guests will arrive at 1:30. Now, how big is your bridal party? 15. Is that 15 on each side, or is that 15 total? 15 total. And that includes you and the groom? No. So that's 17 people. Any children?
Yes.
Because even though that they tell you 15, they really only mean 15. They don't include the kids. So that's 15, 16, 17 bride and groom, and that does include the children. So I got 17 people to work with. And the style of photography, after you've had looked at my work and you know, do you want traditional photography? Do you want candids? Do you want a little bit of both? A little bit of both. So she wants traditional and some huddle, cuddle shots. Huddle, cuddle shots are so easy. Click, click, click. You can snap those off and be done. And I know, without asking, she's going to want elegant shots of herself, shots of the groom, cuddle shots together. Okay, that's standard. Okay, so based on the information she just shared with me, and you might think that this is unnecessary to spend this amount of time, but I'm going to tell you an hour and a half. Whoa, okay. So we're going to go 1:30, 12:30, let's just say 12 o'clock. So you're going to write down 12 o'clock. Now, you will do yourself a service that you are ready, your hair is done, your makeup's on, and you're staying in your dress holding your floral at 12 o'clock. Okay, now I will tell you this, out of all year's brides this year, I want to say 2 were only on time. That's why you always have...
Probably a high percentage.
That's a high percentage. That's why you have to back up the clock by extra time. So how long does it take you to get ready? I mean, fully ready from start to finish, makeup, even if you were to dress up today. Are you a 2-hour person, high maintenance? An hour. Then make it 2 hours for your getting ready time, or 3 hours. You always back the clock up. So now we know, and I tell them, I said, you don't tell them that 12 o'clock is the start time. You tell your bridal party the night before that it's 11:30. The flowers need to be there. I get on the phone. I call the florist. Yo, I need the flowers there at 11:30. Now, there's a good chance they'll show up at 11:45 or 12 o'clock. Okay? But now we have the opportunity to do all the formals prior to. Okay. So now we have a 2 o'clock ceremony. Where was I leading with this? Who controls your wedding day? Ha ha ha. I do. So now I've helped her schedule her day, and I even have a wedding day itinerary form. So now we've put it all down on paper. And she goes, yeah, this is cool. I like this. Okay, everything works. And it's so important that they get a copy. Okay, so now we're on the same tune. Now, if she's working also with a resort hotel, or she's working with a hotel that has their own program, we need to find a way that they're going to work together. Because I'm going to tell them, this is not my program, this is your day, and this is how your day looks. Is there anything you want to change? Is there anything you want to do differently? They need to tell me. Quality photography is planned. It does not happen in a snap. Now, I know Dennis Reggie thinks it does, and I think Dennis Reggie is great, but I just feel that sometimes quality photography is planned, especially when you want certain shots like traditional, classic. Those are not happened on the fly. Oop, I need to back up, because that was the best line. Rev means reverse. What is your bottom line? And now this is a very important question, because oftentimes photographers, when you call them and you look at their program, they have a creation fee. Not only do they have a creation fee, now you're going to put money down for the proofs, okay? And it might be a set figure where you're going to have $500 to put back into what prints you order. And now that you have proofs, and then you can only be at a certain time, also now I have different size and different colors and different quality albums I can sell you. Okay, so now I've got to pick an album, and there's the proofs, and now if I order a 5x7, 8x10, or a 10x10, now it's going to cost me more money. But how does a bride really know in the end how much she's going to spend on a program like that? She doesn't. Okay, I know that this photographer is going to shoot my wedding for $1,000, and he's going to give me 10 8x10s, 5 5x7s, and the rest all in proof size. But how does the bride know in advance what she's going to select, and does it mean that now if she orders more, she's going to get hit with a higher rate? See, the bottom line is never there, and you don't know where it's at. So costs can escalate dramatically after your special day, so insist upon a firm quote. That's what makes me so desirable. I'm one price. Okay? You know up front what you're spending with me. And what's really nice is I get paid a lot for what I do. I mean, I really like it. And how I arrived at this point, how did I get to this point where they got the negatives too? First off, and this is going to sound so familiar, and I'm going to touch some buttons here, but you went out and shot a wedding, the stuff comes back, now you ship it off to the client, and you can only, I hope that you're going to send it back in time. And 6 months later, in the busiest time of your year now, they've sent you an order for $125. And then while the order's out, grandma wants a 5x7. Is that not even worth your time to retrieve the negative from the files? Okay. So now, in the meantime, while I'm taking care of one client, there's like 10 more, and I worked hard all day calling labs and album companies, and now at nighttime, I get to work on that stupid little light table till 3 o'clock in the morning, carding negatives, which I can't stand. So now, and I got to make sure this order's out, and this wasn't printed right, that's got to go back, and I don't care for the big scratch on the album, so that's got to go back, and they printed the name wrong anyway. And so you've got all these things to control and make sure they're correct. And it will drive you crazy. Nobody really knows what goes on behind the scenes except us. So I said, okay, how can I make this simple? What do I not like to do? I hate carding negatives. Okay, why don't I find a way that I can put the product in their hands and walk away from it? So I said, I'll shoot your wedding and I'll even give you the film. And I did that one day, reluctantly. And I went home. I drove home all the way going, oh, God, what did you do? And I was like beating myself up. But I had to experience that because now I thought, gee, I don't know what's on the film. I have no recourse. They could call me and say, you didn't get this, 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 and this, and all this was out of focus. And I don't have any recourse because I handed them the film. I did that once. I went, okay, I can't do it this way. I mean, they didn't call me back. I just beat myself up over what could possibly happen. So I thought, okay, how else can I provide a quality product to my clients, do less work, cut down my expenses? Why not charge them a creation fee, charge them my expenses meaning for film and processing and mailing and all that, and then let them have it? Ooh, that sounds nice. That would make a great hourly. So I upped my creation fee extremely high, charged them $25 per roll of film and processing, because that's basically what it costs is to buy the film and the processing. $40 for package shipping, handling, and insurance. I figured out what my time was worth to even take it down to mailboxes, et cetera, and go here. And so that worked, and I thought, I can deal with this. Okay, so I ended up offering an hourly, and it works. And hourlies work great for small weddings. The thing is you have to charge enough to be able to afford to walk away from it. And I can tell you right now, that, and I know I'm not supposed to do prices, and I won't, but it's well over $1,000 for me just to do a couple hours, 2 hours of work. It's up there, and it's high, because now I can go, thank you so much for your services. She gets to do all the hard work now. She's got 5x5s plus negatives, and she's got a trail to travel now of putting her own album together. I was just paid a creation fee to go out and pick up a camera. Now I can afford to walk away from it, and I don't have to wait for grandma's one order of 5x7. Okay? I don't have, and I had one reprint order, and I will share this with you. It was a reprint order of $1,600 that came through one day. And I called her and I said, I don't have time for this. I'm 6 months away from even touching your order. And she already had one of these big full-blown albums from me. I said, I'm not anywhere near touching your work. I said, how'd you like to purchase your negatives? And that's where I started it from. Because now I wanted a life. I still don't have a life, but you know, it snowballs. So anyway, if I get hung up, tell me to move on. Give me a signal, because I can tend to dwell on something. Tips for a stress-free day. This is good. All these points, these are all very good, valid points. I could probably add more to them. Allow any photographer or wedding planner to help you with your itinerary. That's so important. Designate all your duties. How often do you see the brides just stressing out on their wedding day because, oh, well, who's going to take care of the flowers? Oh, and you need to go to this, and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, wait, party girl. You're supposed to have fun. Designate all your duties. even on down to the kid, let everybody else cater to you on that day. I tell them that over and over again. Occasionally you get a bride that feels like she's got to control everything. That's fine, that's her personality. She's type A. Okay. Night before, take 2 Tylenol PM, get plenty of rest, sleep alone. That's one of the best advice I can give them, and oftentimes it doesn't happen. Floral arrangements, at least half hour prior to the formals beginning. I know your wedding is at 2, but we've asked them to be there at 11:30 because we're going to start pressing the shutter at 12. That's so important. If the flowers aren't there, I start shooting anyway. And I'd rather not have the boutonnieres on if they're not there. Okay? And I do remove the boutonnieres, or the boutonniere off the groom, also like when he's cutting cake, so it doesn't look like it's coming out of the girl's nose. I mean, there's a lot of little things like that we'll get into. Bridal parties, be ready at the site, half hour prior to schedule, 11:30. Be there. You're going to miss your own day. You can't see the bride before the ceremony. This tradition dates back to medieval time when the father bride received a dowry. You guys have heard all this. You've been in professional photography. Land, money, livestock in exchange for his daughter's hand, or mail order brides. So anyway, I do talk them into, I say, okay, your wedding is at 2 o'clock. Your ceremony goes from 2 to 2:30. Oh, it's Catholic Mass. Let's just bump it to 3. From 3 o'clock now, from 3, we've got to find a way that we can have our ushers or groomsmen usher people out of the church, go to a party, have fun, and now you get to spend an hour and a half with me at the church doing formals. That's an hour and a half or an hour that you're taking away from the guest, and the groomsmen are going to mistreat you because they want to drink. Yes?
How soon do you know that information before you qualify them to do their wedding?
Oh, I tell them up front.
What if you get somebody that just does not want to do it?
Oh, they know that when they've called me. I'll say, I do have stipulations. I said, all formals have, do you have a problem with that? Well, yeah. I said, well, let's talk about it. I said, I'll send you my information. If you like what you see, give me a call back. I don't have to
So
be
it's
done
their
doors. It's their choice.
They don't.
But I
they
let them
want
know
you, then
up
they have to do
front.
it your way.
Right. If they want me, they have to do it my way. Huh, isn't that great? So, you know, it's just, and people will tell me it won't work in my area. Come on. Let me tell you this. And I know some of you are from Kansas. All right? A lot of my clients are from Kansas. Some of them are from Texas. Some are from New York. Some are from Germany. Some are from England. But I can tell you, a lot of them, people from Iowa. I've got a couple clients that are up in Iowa now. They're coming down to get married that pay my rates. So don't tell me it won't work in your area. If your photography is where it's supposed to be, you can charge that. And this thing, you can call your shots. You can call your own shots. Because if they want you, and they want your artistic abilities, and they want your creativity, they're going to pay you for it, and they're not going to question it. Now think about it. A whole hour spending it with a photographer and getting abused by groomsmen? Ha! Not the way I work. I won't put up with it. I'll put and there's even a clause in my contract, which I'll show you the reason why it came about. But anyway, this is the 90s. Shooting off formals prior to eliminates stress. It maximizes the times you're able to spend with family and friends rather than the photographer. You can go to formals, go to your wedding day ceremony straight from your reception without delay. Doesn't that sound so cool? That is so much fun. Please keep in mind, quality photography does not happen in a rush. They have to be reminded of that because they think that you can capture everything on the fly. All right, now, this is really neat. I'm in LA about a month ago, and I'm driving down the Autobahn, and I hear, do you guys know the Dr. Laura Schlesinger? Okay? And so I had her talk show on, and this girl calls and goes, hi, my boyfriend and I are having a problem. Oh, what is that? And you don't want to challenge her anyway. She's the silver-tongued devil, okay? And she goes, well, we're getting married, and I'm very old-fashioned and traditional, and my boyfriend wants to do all the formal pictures prior to, and I really, really don't want him to see me. And she goes, I can understand that. She says, let's talk for a minute. She goes, tell me about your dress. And she goes, oh, it is so beautiful. It's long and it's white. It's V-neck and it has really pretty pearls. Oh, wow, that sounds beautiful. And your veil. And she goes, oh, yeah. She goes, that's even longer than the train. She goes, it's really a Cinderella dress, and I can't wait to put it on. She goes, oh, that sounds really nice. Now, tell me, how long have you two been together? She goes, about 4.5 years. She goes, wow. That's good enough to establish grounds for a good relationship. Now tell me, let's get to the point. Have you had sex? Dead silence. And then you hear this, well, yes. Well, we've just broken one tradition right there, haven't we? And I'm like, tears are pouring out of my eyes as I'm driving down the street laughing. And I've even shared that with brides. It's funny, but it's true. And if you're old-fashioned and you don't want to be seen prior to, I respect that. I think that's great. I hope your day is wonderful. And I'll give you a list of qualified photographers. And when I say qualified, I'm talking about people that I respect in the industry that can do you a good job. Anybody else you pick, you're going to have to do your homework. Okay? So that's it. All right, this is good. Now, anytime you go to a quality, a really good restaurant, don't they write their prices in? Some of the really nice ones. It's like if you have to ask, you can't afford it. And so I don't redo my forms over from year to year. Now, these do have problems. There are some problems in there I need to work out. Like right now, I have that I write, and also I sign it, my flat rate assistant fee is in there. My assistant, whether she works 4 hours, 6 hours, or 8 hours, she's paid a flat rate of $100. If I get a bonus, I share it with her. My number one assistant is at my side when I need her. I rarely work with number two because she doesn't want to walk away from the money. Because sometimes we do a 4-hour job in one day. That's easy money for her, kind of. I mean, I'm pretty demanding. But anyway, this is really good. Your investment includes the exclusive service, having me, creation time. And you really have to feel that way about yourself. You have to, because if you don't feel good about yourself and if you don't think you deserve it, then what are you doing this for? Film, processing, inspection, they get it all. It is inspected by me, because if the prints, the proofs that you call them, when they come back, if they don't meet my inspection, they go back to the lab until and even though they're prints that are off the original photographs, I want to make sure that they're color correct before I ship them off to the client. 5x5 prints and 2 1/4 negatives with copy permission. Now, I don't say copyrights, copy permission, because if I choose to use these images any way I see fit, I can do that. Okay.
Before you give them the negative.
Before, well, they can have the negatives, but let's say that there's one in there that I want, and it'll say it's an awesome shot with the bride's veil blowing in the wind. I've never taken just one shot of anything anyway, but if it just so happens to be one shot, I have a copy negative made. They keep the copy negative. I keep the original. They don't know that. I keep the original, but it rarely happens. I usually just select 1 or 2 from different weddings that I want, that show my work, that sell my work. But standard rates, there's my hourly. First hour is non-refundable retainer, okay? Fee required to reserve the services. Money talks. I'm paid up front. Now, if you want to reserve me for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday throughout June through September, I'm a minimum of 4 hours. I won't pick up a camera for less. It's not worth my time to go do a 1 or 2 hour job somewhere. So I'm a minimum. And I have people who will stretch that time out and go, okay, well, we only need you for 2 hours, but we'll take you for 4. Because they want the quality. So they're willing to pay that. Here's my per 24 exposure, that's $25, which is what my cost is. I'm not going to pull any surprises because they can find out how much film is and how much processing is. What they're paying me is my creation fee. June through September, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's a holiday fee in there. How badly do I want to work on Christmas Day? How badly do I want to work on New Year's? Probably not. So if I put a rate in there of 200, 400, 500, that's what's going to take me to get out the door and pick up my camera. Okay? So have a holiday rate in there. A 16x20, an engagement portrait. Most people think of a 5x7 with people with their heads together smiling for the newspaper. That's an engagement portrait. These are 16x20s. They're mounted, they're framed, they're gorgeous. I've gone out, I've pressed the shutter on you. I'm done. I select the image. I blow it up. I do whatever artsy-fartsy thing I want to do to it. And the first time that client sees it is when they arrive at their own reception. That's the first time they see it, and it blows them away. I've never had one say, oh, I don't like it, I don't like my face. Well, oftentimes it's a love environmental portrait where you've got 2 people and awesome scenery, okay? So that's what the engagement portraits are. Those things cost me. My cost is $300 on those. I'll pass that on to the client. $300 is what it costs to piece those together, my cost. As for film, processing, sending it back to the lab to make a 16x20 custom print, double matted and framed, and my assistant, which small bananas to her, but she'll set it up at the reception site early. Okay. Black and white fee, flat fee. I charge a black and white fee there of $200. And if you ask me to put one roll of black and white film, it's an automatic charge. And I explain this to my clients. As you know, you can go from a color negative to a black and white, but you can't go black and white to color. And rarely will I have a bride that says, I want everything in black and white. I'll be happy to do it all in black and white. But if you only want a portion done in black and white, trust me, there'll be a fee there because, one, I don't want to deal with it. Number two, you're not going to be happy with it. You can take any of your color images and change over. Now, other photographers feel different about that. That's okay. I just know that this works for me. This works for me, and it is so easy. And I've had couples pick their favorite image and make it black and white. That's fine. They own their own negatives. They can do that. By the way, I'm not the only one. Excuse me. I was happy to hear at Nationals this past year that Monty Zucker also is a creation fee. I always wash the carpet when I pour water. Monty Zucker does the negatives. He gets paid a creation fee, which endorsed what I'm doing when I heard him say that. And then also Dennis Reggie. He does the same thing. He's paid a creation fee and walks away from it. You saw my file cabinet.
Well, then you're putting it on the bride and groom then to assemble their own.
That's right. If they hire me by an hour, the hourly. If they hire me by the hour, they get to do all the hard work. And I've had couples hire me, which I don't get it. They'll hire me for 6 to 8 hours. Oh, you know why? It's because the thing ended. It was playing and then... Oh, you have it. Okay. He's in control. They get the 5x5 prints plus negatives. And those things, when the prints go out the door, if I thought they were printed too pinky, I send them back to the lab so that the dress is white and the exposures are good, and then they get all that. They get to do all the hard work now. I walk away free and clean.
But on the final product, when they show their album to somebody that's been printed by, I'm not chastising 1 hour lab
Right.
or something like that, they're not noted for quality print.
No.
Doesn't that reflect upon your work?
Not really, because most people, the kind of 1 hours that I do are usually 1 hour, 2 hours, family of 20, from Virginia, New York, Florida.
No, he's
occasional.
talking about is the quality of the prints coming from the 1 hour photoshops and stuff where they may go. And you're
Oh,
not doing
they
that.
don't handle 2 1/4 film. They don't. 1 hour shops don't have.
We have a
In
1
fact,
hour photo in Kansas City
that hands them?
There's
Because
some
I
that
do
don't
have a clause, a little thing in there. It says, I, Dian McGowan, da da da. You get copyright. I mean, I handwrite all this out, and then also I'll write in there. Please keep in mind that these are working prints. These are working prints that you use to communicate with your lab if you wanted them printed up, print them down, remove glass glare. I mean, I handwrite all this out so that because everything is different pertained to whoever I'm working with, and most of my hourlies are 1 to 2 hours. That's to say that I can take care of you and give you quality photography for your 1 to 2 hours that you really need me for.
I think what we're trying to get at is, don't you think that when somebody goes and has their own album done like that, don't you worry that when
No.
they show their friends
No.
and relatives that it's going to reflect on your work because the quality of the
No.
prints aren't there?
If they've done a bad job
The
putting
reason
it on,
why
you
is
better
because
know.
most people hire me for my albums.
I was gonna say, you have two styles. You
I-
have the hourly rate and the other.
I haven't got to the album yet.
Oh,
And this
okay.
is when people go, oh, there's just 20 of us. It's Wednesday. It's being held in a luxury home up on the mountain, and we only need you there for an hour to capture our ceremony and just a few family shots. Click. There's money in my pocket, big time.
People who photography is not as important. If they
Exactly, exactly. So they can piece their own albums together. There's nowhere on that album it has my name anywhere. They can put their own albums together. My name isn't showing.
Yeah, but if they ask who the photographer was, and because they went somewhere.
I provided them a quality product.
No, but I'm saying when people that print it and they put this
Right.
album together and it does not look good, they say, well, who was your photographer? And they say Dan McGowan, and they say, well, this is bad, you know, and it's not because the
But you
pictures
know,
are
I've called, well, if you have a good quality, if you have a normal negative that you're working with, then it's the lab that's screwing up.
well, yeah, but you can't defend that.
No, I
It's-
can't.
you know, I mean,
But
and
for
they're
the
gonna think
people
that
who
this
hire
is
you
what
for an
put out.
hour, I know, but let me move on to the next thing because this is what I do very few of. This is for the 1 hour. This is for the people out on the rock buttress. And most of them are going to take those 5x5 prints anyway and go blah, 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 put 4 to a page. Most of them, 99% of them, that's what they do with that, which is okay. But This is what the hourly looks like when it's delivered. It's in this gold box by Tap, and it has my label on it. So I guess they do, and my name is on it. Huh. There's the copyright that has thank you, copy permission. I've listed all their rolls out so that they know roll 1, roll 2, roll 3. It's all user friendly. And people who have never worked with 2 1/4 film before, it will be a nightmare for them. But for the most part, they're just taking these 5x5 prints because that's all they're happy with. And that's what they want. Their name is on it in gold. Those pens are a nightmare. They're pilot pens. Oh, I hate those things because when they go blah, and you can't like clean it up. Then you have to make flowers out of it and do other stuff. But this all gets double boxed into mailboxes, etc. because I wrap these up in very expensive paper. Oop, that's in backwards. Very expensive paper and bows, and that paper's very expensive. Okay, album. Now we get to the album part. And I'm just telling you what works for me. This works so well. And you know, I do follow up. When I send something, hi, your prints are ready. It says, are you home? Are you at this address? I confirm everything. It's going out tomorrow, mailboxes, etc. You should have it within 3 days, sitting on your doorstep. But do you want to deliver it at work instead? No problem, because now they get to see all my work at work, office staff. Okay, so that's the out. Then after they even have it, I'll call them, usually a month later and say, hi, how you doing? Have you had any problems? Oh, we haven't done anything with our prints yet. That's fine. It's an hourly. They can do what they want with them, but at least I followed up and asked if they had any questions, if they need any help. I'll look in my book, my PPGO book, to find a qualified lab they can work with that caters to the public. You know, they're happy. I've never had a complaint on my hourlies yet. Okay, on the album packages, that's 4 hours, that's 28 custom storybook album, remaining 5x5 prints plus negatives. Now, this is something else that rules me and makes me a little different or rules me out from other photographers. As I come, I'll work my tail off on your wedding day, but that's my easiest day. The rest is all the production work. I pick all the prints that go in your album. I'll say it again. I pick all the prints that go in your storybook album. You don't pick any of them. So you're thinking, well, Diane can do this because 85% of her business is out-of-state clientele. One of my clients lives 1 street away. Another one of my clients from this summer lives 2 miles away. Another one of my clients lives 5 miles away. I worked for an attorney. She just got married. She's in Frisco. That's 11 miles away. More and more of my locals. You know, they hadn't even called me to find out how it was looking. I've called them. I said, wow, I got some of the greatest images for you guys. This album is going to be so much fun. I'm halfway through 3 albums for local clients. And they said, wow, we can't wait. This is going to be so neat. So all my deliveries will be done before Christmas. It takes me 3 to 4 months to finish these out. So I pick all the pictures. That's it. Having all your formals done prior to, no Diane McGowan. Having her pick all your pictures, no Diane McGowan. No problem, because there's people who are willing to pay me lots of money to do this. If I don't work for you, I'm going to work for somebody else. That's it. I mean, I really have gotten to the point now, I can pick and choose my client, they can pick and choose me, and they know how I work. And I've even seen the bride, after she has selected me, and the mother's trying to say, Harry, take your hand out of your pocket. Mom, shh, Diane knows what she's doing. I mean, it's so cool. They just give me the control. I'm not a control freak. I just want to have you have a stress-free day, because once your formals are done up front, it's a party from that point on. I want you to understand that. I'm not a control freak. It's only in the beginning for your formals. After that, it's a party. Okay, custom story. They're a top-of-the-line choice with black and leather or canvas image wrap covers. I just ditched the company that did my black leathers because they dropped silver. I don't believe that every wedding goes in a black and gold album. If you're shooting an outdoor wedding, and I do a lot of those mountaintop, Keystone Ranch, I do a lot of those, those are cool tones, and black and silver is what best presents. I always use black because it's rich looking. It makes the colors punchy. If I put it in white, it tends to get lost. I don't use any other color. I use black. That was it. Now, as for the canvas image wrap covers, those are awesome. Now, I go every year to nationals. I go every year to WPPI. I spend more time in that trade show than I do at some of the programs, only because I learn so much from the vendors that I'll go and, you know, whether I think I know their product or not, I have to stop. I have to touch everything. You know, I'm the type that the retailers hate because I have to touch everything. It's usually not in its place when I walk out. But I have to look at it, touch it, smell it, open it, page through it, and I'll blast through all those vendors like this. But if something stops and wows me, then I know it wows me, and I have to stop and look at it longer. I want to know about it. Send me literature. I want literature now. And so this canvas image wrap cover is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And what that is, and I don't even have a product here. I've got 2 albums right now in New York being made up. What is so cool about this company is that I no longer have to piece the album together myself. I'll tell the story, send the prints off to the lab. When the prints come back to me, they have to pass my inspection. Glass glare is covered, facial shine, the guy doesn't look like he's sweating, da-da-da-da-da. Everything's ready to go. I put it in proper order. I ship everything off to New York now, and they compile my entire album. Classic. No, classic albums. Classic. And I have their phone number. And what is so cool about them is these image wrap covers, they're getting a patent on these covers. They can take a 5x7, scan it, send it through, I want to say it's a jet printer or a jet ink printer or a laser thing, and it shoots ink into the canvas. And I'm talking something of this size. Is that what it is? And then they wrap it around the album, and it's a hardback, and then they lacquer it so it's nice and so that none of the inks will come off it. And so you got this just awesome image that wraps clear around. The brides haven't seen this. It's something that's so new that many photographers aren't even familiar with the product. And so when you show something new and different and innovative to your modern bride, I love calling them modern brides, they love that. Say, well, most of my modern, you know, I can talk you right out of doing studio. Say, most of my modern brides really like the photojournalistic style. They do like getting some of their formals done up front because they're fresh. And I said, we'll just use whatever background we're shooting in. It's so gorgeous there with all the trees and da-da-da-da. And it's like, wow, that sounds so cool. Talk yourself right out of all that hard work of hauling backdrops and strobes and all that stuff. So anyway, getting back to this album, this image wrap cover, and I wish I had something on slide to show you, but I don't. But I will show you this thing. Can we turn the lights up just for a second, please? I am so excited, and I can't wait for 2 of my albums to get back. My last 4 brides that saw this brochure went with, you know, before I was giving them a choice between black, leather, and or this. Now they don't have a choice anymore. Ha, I've eliminated that. It's like, this is what you get if you use my services. If I don't work for you, I work for somebody else. Okay? I'm not that obnoxious. I'm just telling you guys that. See, this is an image wrap cover from front to back. And those are, the other thing that this company is doing is they're collaging images. And they'll put 8, 12 images and do a panorama, and they do full bleed pictures, which is so unique. Here's a full bleed panorama. When I say full bleed, there's no matting. And this is this image wrap cover. I'll pass this around. But this is so cool. This is so cool, and I can't wait for my albums to get back to me. Man, it's freezing in here. I'm prepared. That air conditioning is like, oh, this is warm. This is freezing. I mean, like, I can feel the vent right here. It is so cold. So anyway, it's sickening what people will pay me to piece these together, but they're doing it. And you can do this too. 1, passion. 2, quality. Once you've earned that respect with your client, you can almost charge what you want. I'm doing it, and I don't know what I don't know what my bottom line is.
This image wrap cover, how durable is it?
It's hard. It's a hardback. It's a
No,
hard.
Is there any,
They lacquer it.
Can they damage the image that's on?
No, because it's lacquered. I mean, it's not been out on the market long enough to test drive it and drag it up and down the hallways to see if it would scuff and all that. But I've seen it, and you're not going to rough handle even a leather album because they're treasures. You don't rough handle them anyway. But this is, right, but these are rock hard. I mean, this just bowled me over. I'm a travel brat. I can fly anywhere because I'm retired TWA and my husband's United. I hopped on a flight right after Nationals and went to New York to see this. I walked through the factory. I met the people. I saw, they said, we have no photography yet that suits our product. Send us some images, Diane. I went, ah, that was the only one they had, is the one with the piers. I was so impressed with this. It's unbelievable, and I can't wait to see these guys again. And so, yeah, they are, I've got two out now, one's on its way.
How long does it take for them to do their deal?
Good question. They're being tested. They're being tested because they're telling me 3 to 4 weeks for a finished product, and I think that's realistic. Now I want to see if they can stay within that 3 to 4 weeks. I'm demanding. I want it because I want to be able to say to my client, you're going to get your album on November 15th. You're going to get your album on November 20th. I want to be able to say you will get it, and if you get it before then, it's even a bonus. Okay. I love this one. Parent albums are available for the remaining 5x5 prints that your kids don't want. That's so true, because they're going to go through and go, nah, 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 because they get a stack of prints that's left over. And any good photographer is not going to take just one shot of anything, are they? So you have all these excess prints that the parents can put in their parent albums, and I will ship them parent albums at cost. They want them, they can have them. I mean, the parent albums were running around $120 at cost. But it depends on, I told them it's the album cover is the same price as how many base pages that you put in. The more base pages, the more Mylar, the more this, the more that. So it's based on, and most of the clients I work for, they'll pay $500-600 for even a parent album, the small ones. Right? That's because that's how much it costs by the time you stack those things up. But they have all the prints and they get to pick their own. I'll just provide them with the album if they want it. Custom storybook albums are delivered within 4 months. It used to be 3. I've pushed it to 4 just because I want to have a life. Okay, can we have the lights down, please? This is going to give you an opportunity to see the product that I deliver or have been delivering. Have been is a better way of saying it, have been. Go ahead and turn them down. I don't mind being in the dark. You don't want to see me anyway. It's the album. Oh, I put the wrong one in. Huh, okay. I had a better album I wanted to show you. The name is on the front. I selected, that is silver, by the way. It doesn't look that way. Oh, I take it back. This is how the final album looks when the couple gets it. Let me back up. That's their album, okay? And this is how it's wrapped. And so all my albums go out in silver paper. All my hourlies go out in gold. This is really expensive paper. But you want to know something? It's worth it because they pay me enough money that I can go out and buy the best papers. And besides that, I don't have a lot of money. I'm not rich. But you can pull it off and look that way, act that way. I mean, it's all a facade. But if people are paying you the kind of money they're paying to do a wedding, why not put it back into their product? Because when they get it, they know they've got what they've paid for. Does that make sense? They know they've gotten what they've paid for, instead of wrapping this up in cheap Walmart paper. Okay, contract. I do have an album with me, and I just took pictures of it Friday. This is really good. There is a retainer fee. A retainer fee, like for example, if you book me for an hour, or hourly, it's $300 down, which is the retainer fee, and all the other monies are paid after services are rendered on that day. Okay, on that day. So far I have my retainer fee for a month from now. Let's say a Saturday, yeah, and I'm working 4 hours. Now, come that day, I go over and I figure out how much film I've burned, okay, by the roll, $40 for package shipping and handling, and I figure my hours into that, and I give Dad the bottom line. And I always ask too. I tell the bride and groom, I said, who is it that'll be handling financial matters on your wedding day? The father or the best man? That's my question. I don't want to deal money with bride and groom. Who will be handling your financial expenses? Your father and or best man. And it's usually the father and or best man. It's one or the other. And I always recommend to them to have the checks in the envelope, one made out to the florist, one out to the minister, one made out to me. Mine's blank, of course, because I get paid after my services are rendered. Now, it has happened where the father said, oh, Diane, I'm so sorry, I didn't bring my checkbook. Oh, Mr. Brown, that's okay, don't worry about it. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll take this film home and I'll put it in a box and I'll make sure it's refrigerated, and when I get your check and it has an opportunity to clear, I'll send it off to the lab right away. I'm not paying for the processing. I'm not going to pay for that until there's money in my pocket, and it's happened twice now. And it's probably very legit that he didn't have his checkbook on him. But now there's no money out of my pocket, and I don't have stuff sitting on my desk waiting to be paid. So, oh, Mr. Brown, no problem. Okay, so I just put the film in the refrigerator, but once the check comes back, it has to clear before I ship it off to the lab now. So it adds extra delayed time on getting their product to them. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, and then a retainer fee on my album. Those are $700 just for the retainer fee, and those are low figures. Those are very low figures. Now, and the other thing that I do offer is that for $97, for $98, for those who are interviewing me now, and I have people over the phone who haven't seen my work yet, but they know my reputation. So I tell you what, I can accept Visa or MasterCard, and I'll give you 30 days to accept or decline my services. So I write down there and I get $300 or $700 into my account, ship off all my stuff. Well, Diane, you know, and I've already qualified them that all formals are done prior to. They know I'm completing the album, but they're basing it upon my reputation. So now they want me to hold that day for them. I do not hold days unless there's a financial commitment. If there's a financial commitment, no problem. Boom, it's your day. Yes?
How do you handle refunds if they should decide to pay?
I had one that just happened the other day. The parents went with my most expensive package. They come over, they spent an hour with me. They interviewed the top photographers in our state, the top. Wendy Saunders, Sarah Francis. I mean, but they held out for me because I was on vacation. I came back, they went, we don't need to look any farther. Unfortunately, though, our daughter's in Seattle, and it's based upon her approval as to who we end up finally going with. We'd like to reserve this date. No problem. Ran their card through. They called me because their daughter came in a week later and does not want any of the formals done prior to. So they called me back and said, is there any way you could be flexible on this? No, I'm really sorry, for a stress-free day. I said, unless you've allowed time where you're doing your ceremony, there's this big break, and then afterwards, and people are going to another. Problem is, it was all same location. So you've got like 300 people all in the same room. You're trying. I've been there, done that. I said, no, I'm really sorry. And she goes, wow, we really wanted to have you. We're going to go with Wendy. No problem. I'll book that for somebody else. And so I refunded her money via Visa and refunded it back into her account. I don't have a problem with that. And then I just had my hair cut this past week, and John LaGuardia, who's my hair stylist, said, oh, he says, I just had a client in here that was just raving about you, and she's so upset that her daughter did not want to be seen prior to. She didn't even have to tell me her name. I knew who it was. But, you know, that's the way it is. I'm not going to put myself through that, and yet I don't put myself through it. I don't stress out. My meter's ticking. The thing is that I see everybody else come unwound, and it affects the photography because they're the ones having a bad time now. It's all that, you know, I really push that, obviously. Ha. Okay, coverage, cancellations, overtime, exclusive, I'm exclusive. You know, I'm never going to say, oh, Janet, I'm so sorry. I have to run to another wedding now. Thanks. Goodbye. Have a wonderful day and congratulations. Boom, and I'm out of there. I don't work that way. I can work 4 hours and make my paycheck. Oh, this is good. Okay, this one came up for a reason. In case, well, no, not that one. I love this one. Quality insurance. To ensure quality of service, there will be no interference by any party. That's professional and or otherwise amateur or attending persons with the performance of Dian McGowan. If problems arise, the photography will stop until there's been order or whatever. And the reason why that came about, now first off, and I know young, cocky groomsmen tanked on alcohol sometimes can get verbally abusive, okay? And I've heard language that, you know, and even the groomsmen know too, or the groom, that if I put my camera down, he knows I'm done until he lets these guys know that I don't take that kind of talk. You know, the stuff, I can't even repeat it. It's nasty. And they think they're cute, they think they're funny. I don't think so. And I do have a sense of humor. But you don't mistreat me. And the other thing why that came up was because I had a young brother of the bride who obviously hated photographers and came up and pushed me over while he was going for appetizers. There was this beautiful array of floral and appetizers on the piano, and he came over and he elbowed me, and I fell backwards into another guest. And he was so incredibly rude to me that day that that's when I said, why do I put up with this? I'm not going to. I'm not going to. When I worked for TWA, I had to. I don't work for TWA. I work for myself now, and I respect myself, and I expect them to respect me too. And so that's why that's come in here. Only twice I had to put my camera down. And it really was so cool because the groomsmen were all getting together, you know, the routine, and they get tough and macho and cool. And as soon as they started with this verbal jargon that I thought was extremely crude, I put my camera down and I just turned my back. And I waited. And the groom said, "Hey, guys, come on." He says, "Clean it up, because she'll be out of here in a second." See, he knew that. And I turned around and went, "Okay, guys, let's get it on." I mean, I move forward. I move forward. I don't let it bother me. I move forward. So this is really good. I really like this. The only problem is I didn't allow enough room for bride to write her name and groom. You know, these could be manipulated a little bit to improve the quality of the final product here. What else we got here? Okay, this is the album that I just photographed Friday. It took second place in state last week, and the one that took first place was a cloth cover, and it had all 10 by 10 images. And granted, we're based on the quality of our product overall, but also the print quality. And the judges really liked the big 10 by 10s. It was full album of nothing but 10 by 10s. This is where you're going to see where I stand out a little differently. If I overshoot at your wedding, trust me, I'm going to put as many images in here, and I will work within the pages that you've hired me for. If you've hired me for 4 hours for a 28-pager or a 6-hour for 34 pages, 28 to 34 doesn't sound like a lot, does it? No. But you'll see, or if I worked 8 hours for a 40-page album, you're going to see what I do, which is a little different. It's a lot of work.
When you call a page, one side or both sides of the answer?
40-page, that's one base page.
So
No, wait. 40, so that means that, no. That means that there's 40 sides, that's 20 base pages. 20 base pages, yes. Good question. My name is on there. I'm proud to have my name on these things. I'm taking a course. I will never stand still. And so my next course is to learn calligraphy. So instead of doing it in my handwriting, I can do calligraphy. Right now, occasionally I farm it out and say, "Here, I need to have you do this calligraphy for me." But I want to learn to do it myself. There's their engagement portrait. That was a 16 by 20 mounted frame, and it was the first thing they saw at the reception site when they got there. And everybody could sign in around on it, provided all the pens. They thought it was wonderful. Location, always show location. I'm not really happy with the way I captured this, but you know, the church now, and I didn't have my 40 millimeter lens when I took this wedding in June, but now it's a full panorama when I show locations. That's the town of Breckenridge. This is the church they were married in. And this church is located over here, but I still wanted to show location. It's the town, it's the church. Tiny little church, 300 people. The fire marshals only knew. Bride and groom, those are standard shots. There's nothing special about that at all. I mean, I can nitpick my own work apart. The bouquet's a little too high. If I shoot the groom to the left, I'll shoot the bride to the right. I always try to base my images based on the bride first. If I pick a 3/4 shot of the bride, I want it to be a 3/4 shot of the groom. If it's a full length of the bride, it'll be a full shot of the groom. I want balance from left to right. Exactly. You never want someone facing off the page. I don't want someone faced off the page. If she is turned and looking off her shoulder in a shot, and that's the shot I've selected, it's going to be the shot of him over here looking that way or looking towards her or looking at the camera. But I don't turn my backs to each other. These are nice shots. I mean, you know, I've got them standing on the pews. I don't care. I mean, we have the church to ourselves. I do respect church and its nature. I have a few obstacles I have to work with in this church, such as that ski pole from Father Dyer. He was the old mail carrier and preacher that went from mining camp to mining camp back in the 1800s. So that's a very unique piece. I think that was his original ski. It's believed to be. And of course, that's a picture of Father Dyer in the stained glass window. So again, it's not the ceremony, but everything's shot in a different direction. They love these. These are fine. They work. With her parents. His parents are separated, See, when I shoot a wedding, I'm already thinking in advance album because I know how many I need for piecing these together. And I don't shoot one of anything, but I'm going to select the best image of the bride first, then the parents. If I can get all three of them looking great, that's even better. But I always go on expressions. There's grandma, there's her brothers, there's her parents. I mean, I know them all. I was there for 10 hours. Okay, these are your standard procession shots as they're taking people down. And I try to stand slightly at an angle and shoot towards them so that this way I'm not shooting straight on. It's a slight angle. These are nothing special, but it tells a story. That's the thing. They're nothing special. The exposures are normal. Okay, that's what you want. You don't want anything under or over. But it still tells a story. These grandmothers were flown in from Norway.
Diane, I see on your 5x50 procession, it looks like there's a little bit vignetting at the bottom. Do you use that, or is it
No, you know what that is a Dennis Reggie bracket. And because the fact that the mount is so high, what's nice about the Dennis Reggie bracket is you can adjust the bracket so that if it hits straight on, you'll get more black in the bottom. I like it at a slight tilt, just so that it just, this way you don't see legs and kneecaps, and so that's intentional. And also depends on the angle I'm standing at. If I'm standing at, I'm only 5'4", but if I stand on my Rubbermaid stool, it gives me another foot. So it depends on what I'm shooting. But that's why you see the vignetting or a little dark on the bottom. It's just flash up mounted on a Dennis Reggie bracket. There's no flash that's allowed in this church. Do I control this thing? It's not, or is it self-adjusting? It'll pop back in, maybe?
It's trying.
It's trying. Doesn't know where to focus. Ooh,
Is it glass mounted?
ooh, no.
It's confusing.
Oops, I passed it. Past the point. Well, anyway, you get the idea. You know, in this church inside, I think it's cute from the outside. My personal feelings is the inside is so unattractive. And what I don't like about Father Dyer Church, and most brides don't like about it, is this thing. So one of the first, and then one of the lights popped out when we turned the lights on. As soon as we turned the lights on, that one bursted on us. This up here, it's one of the first things I do is I close that, because all there are is a bunch of folded chairs up there. And so I have to do an overall view. This is where they were married. Click, I capture that, and then the rest here is the ring exchange. And then of course I use a longer lens so that I can capture that and eliminate the wonderful ceiling or the balcony. The kiss, I always ask, the thing is with the kiss, that's always the one part that makes me the most nervous. The reason why is because the only time you're allowed to use flash is when they're coming down the aisle. That's it. That's the restrictions at this church, which is for most part every church I've ever worked in. The problem with a kiss, if you're shooting on slow shutter speed and he chooses to go, wah, and give her a big kiss and pop her back up, you know it's going to be blurred. If you hit him with a flash, then all your pictures aren't going to be warm tone and match, are they? They're going to be, once you hit a flash, it's going to be a little different. Even if you kiss them a little bit of light, the minister's going to turn and glare at you. I'm a church mouse. That's why they like me here. My name is the first one that comes out of their mouths. I'm a church mouse. I do everything from the back of the church, except for procession. When they first come out, click, click, click. From that point, I'm in the back. The lighting of the candle right there, that did not actually happen during the ceremony. It was done afterwards when they were signing their marriage license. Said, by the way, I'd like to capture this one shot real quick. Threw it on the tripod. I said, I want the two of you to hold hands and light your candle. Click. I was done. Because at the time that they did it, their backs were totally to the candle, and they were lighting it with their other hands. You couldn't even see what they were doing. But that's a lovely shot in their album. And they don't even remember. They won't even remember. But I pieced this entire album together and then gave it to them. They didn't mind jazz hands. They said that was cool, that was okay. I couldn't decide which one I wanted, so I put in both. The two of them with families, standard shots. Now, I don't use strobes. I just meter the available light, go, okay, cool. See if I want depth of field. I really need to drop down just a tad more. Okay, great. Set my camera accordingly. And if it says F at 5.6, I'll set my flash at 5.6. I might even set it for half stop less because I just want it to kiss them. I don't want them to go. I just want to kiss them with a little bit of light so that this way it renders natural skin tones. Now they're coming out of the church. As you know, the groomsmen have already ushered everybody out. They've signed. They've already had their ceremony. They rang the bell, ding, 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 announced the world of their wedding. Of course, I was backpedaling out the door, closed the doors. They pushed the doors open. They kissed. I already have that shot. I didn't care for it, didn't like it. Expressions, the way her leg was kind of cranked. I picked the images, and I didn't like it. But I loved this because the birdseed was flying now, and they're racing through the people. And I selected that one because it was mushy, it's kissy. I mean, these are wonderful shots, and they flow. And the thing with the album is I really work hard so that the left side balances with the right. And so this works fairly well.
Do you ever get a situation where they say, because you send them the extra 5x5s, right?
Oh, they can have everything when I'm done.
Do they ever say, is there any way that we do like this one, can we get it in the album somehow?
I've never had that happen. I've never had that happen yet. I've never had that happen. But because they own their own negatives, oftentimes, and all those remaining prints, oftentimes they put little fun albums together anyway. They'll just collage a bunch of stuff. I've seen them do that too. They own, I have to say something here, and I can say this because I'm out of my own state, but this guy found his own gold mine. Her family owns the dredge, which is this boat right here, the dredge boat. And these dredges from the late 1800s and turn of the century is what would go down the riverbeds and tear up the bottoms and churn all the rock, and from where they extracted the gold. And so this was built as a novelty idea for Breckenridge since it's in the historical district, and there are a few dredge boats to this day, one up French Gulch, and in different locations. And so kiddingly among ourselves, we say that he has found his own gold mine because the family owns and she manages the dredge. Ha! You didn't laugh, but that's okay. But anyway, this is a full panorama, and that's why they liked that. And there were 300 people on that thing, and it's still floating. If the fire marshals knew. Okay, so now we're getting to the fun part. How do you get 300 people of their closest family and friends, because they're very well known in the community, how do you get them in the album? And this is what kept this one from going first. There were a couple judges that didn't like the collaged images. Tough. My brides like it. This is what, if Uncle Harry wasn't in there, and Annie Mae, and some of their friends from Norway, and this was a town party, okay? Their bartender that works at the dredge, these are very wealthy developers. I mean, this was like a town. This is in very good focus. Here's a photographer. Anyway, what I do is I cut the images, and I brought some images with me if someone wants clarification on this, but I will take a stack of reception shots and go plunk. Okay, so I find myself comfortable in a seat in front of the TV, and I start cutting. And I cut all around. That was the hardest thing I ever did, was to cut my first image. And I cut all around it, and then I took a magic marker, and I blackened all the edges so they don't look like cutouts. And after I blackened the edges, now I have a stack of fun reception shots of faces and people and balloons and da-da-da. Okay, now I'll take my 10 by 10 mat that I'm working with. Sometimes I get to use 10 by 10. Sometimes I run out and I'll use panorama pages instead. Depends on what materials I have, how hard it is to get from the company. So anyway, then I'll lay them out so that they flow properly according to head size. And after I've laid them out, I use from the Pierce Company, it's called it's XYRON. How would you say that? Do you pronounce the X? Arion? Xiron? It's an XYRON 850 mounting system. And again, you have to close your eyes and pay. You close your eyes and pay. So I saw this at Nationals. And you take this cutout print, and I put it into this little machine and turn the crank, and it comes out the other side, and I peel it off, and it has goop on the back side. And then I go into the album. It made my life simple. Before I was using a box, I was using 77 3M adhesive glue, which was a nightmare, and I'd spray down in it. It got worse if the cat jumped in the box. So it was a nightmare, and it took twice as long, that's poor English, it took me twice as long to create the final product. So now, close your eyes and pay. I spent, what, $230 for this little machine. Stick them in there, crank it. The money doesn't matter anymore now. It has simplified my life. And I have to admit, it made sense when he said that to us. It didn't at the time. I thought, oh, yeah. But now you pull it out the other side, pull out the goop, slap it down, it's ready to go. Then I started questioning about the quality or with the adhesive on the back of the image. Will it eat it through? Will it be a chemical reaction? They tell me no, okay? They tell me no. I don't know. But right now, as we all know, it takes 4 images per page. 4 images. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. She's by herself. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 pictures on one page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 images on one page. Okay? So instead of doing 4 5x5s, I can do collages. Here's another one. And, you know, and they just love these. And I don't mind the vignetting underneath because it shows separation from the next person to the next person. So that it doesn't, I mean, it just gives them their own space. Nine on that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 on that one. Okay? Now, going back to them, I try not to collage anything that's of important traditional shots, the cake cutting. Although I did it with First Dance. Here's First Dance. And you know, I circle around them. I'm never going to just take one shot anyway because as they're dancing, their expressions are changing all the time. And so why not blast off 20 shots of First Dance, close-ups, 3/4 lengths? Who knows? I mean, you just don't know what you're getting sometimes. I mean, yes, they say watch the timing and everything, and I do move to the music, you know, but the expressions change all the time. And he's laughing and she's laughing, and then they look at each, and then they cuddle up. I don't know how to make this thing go back into focus, but.
Do you use a button cutter to do those?
I brought it with me. Thank you for asking. I didn't remember. I even brought scissors. Can you turn the lights up just for a second, please? I don't think this is a button cutter, and I'm not even sure what to call it, but it was like $25 from Pierce. And I told him I needed something because what I was doing, I was taking coffee cups, I was going, mee, and then I was cutting them out. And as you know, you don't get a clean line. And so they said, oh, you don't need to use coffee cups anymore. You just need one of these little gadgets. And I went, oh, okay, close your eyes and pay. $25. I can do it. What can I cut? Give me something to cut. Can I cut this thing? Watch this. And you just stick this little piece down. Okay, we're going to cut out these kids. You put pressure on top. Gotta make sure I know which way the blade's going. Now I'm going to go around it only once, all the way around it, and it just gave me a clean cut. There's my print. Now I eliminated all that time of going all around that wasn't even to begin with. Then I slide it through my little machine, comes out the other end, pull off the sticky back, and it's ready to go in the album.
So for the
And then you put the gold around.
And then I take the Nightmare Pilot pens and hope that doesn't go blah.
while you have this process, why don't you just make your backing out of a gold paper or something and cut it out a little larger than the image and glue it all together? And
Are you saying glue this onto gold back paper and then put gold paper?
what you have there, cut the circle a little larger, and you eliminate your gold pen.
Ooh, nice idea. I hate that gold pen. I mean, there's been times where
All that is freestyle mounting. I'm used to doing it with a cold mount press and cold.
I'm open for ideas.
Well, I'm used to doing it with cold mount paper, like putting an invitation in the book.
Right.
I do it with a cold mount paper that you cut it.
Well, where do you get that product from?
Coda.
Oh, I need to know about this.
It's
You write a little note down, Coda for me. And the Coda paper is what I use for the backing of my panoramas.
yes, it's cold mount paper. You have to use pressure and put it on
Right,
the page.
but you can get them in gold and silver and.
No, I mean, you just, gold construction paper will work because you're not,
What?
I mean, any type of what would be gold paper.
I want better. I want the real good stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Go to a printer and have them order you
Yeah.
some gold cover
They
stuff.
can do that in
Yeah.
silver.
Or
Yeah.
silver, yeah, they can order it.
Oh, these pilot pens are a nightmare.
Yeah,
I mean, I
and-
have to hold my breath and like.
I mean, that way, if you don't have to worry about making what you're making, because with that thing, you can cut it just a 16th of an inch larger.
Right.
Get a different size.
You know,
I rarely goof, but when I goof, when those pilot pens go blah, watch it too. There's a little blade right there, and then there's a bunch of blades inside.
but I mean, that's the reason.
Well, that's
what
good.
I thought you were doing when I saw that, because they're all perfect
No, I do
circles.
it the hard way. I do everything the hard way, thank you. Yeah, they're perfect circles. I had to learn the hard way. And finally, Pierce provided me. Now, this is fun. I never did this before either. I had 10 by 10 prints made up, and I was standing on the table taking these. This is a true example of what this wedding was like. They were nose to nose, butt to butt, shoulder to shoulder. There was no place to move, okay? And so I actually got up on a chair and started taking shots as I saw Kodak opportunities. And then I looked at the table and I thought, I can do this. And I went and stood up on a bar table and I'm taking shots. And that's how a lot of these were captured. And then, of course, these were all family members that I started to highlight all throughout. And you know, I never know what I'm going to do. Can you turn down the lights just a tad more? It makes it look a little too soft. I just did these with natural, thank you, lighting when I cranked these off the other day. But you know, where I put the circles in the blank spots. And what started me doing this is there was this guy that had a really big bald head that was closest to the camera, and it lit up like the moon. And so I thought, okay, I've got to cover this guy's head because your eyes went right to the back of his head. And so that's how I started mounting all these up, and it's all dead space anyway.
Now, did the judges like this?
No, they didn't. That's why it
They
took
didn't like
second.
this part all.
No. The album that they took first, they liked all the 10 by 10 stuff. They said, how we doing? Time out?
Yeah. Wrap up and we'll break for lunch.
Okay. We'll get through this album then. We've got, if you want to wait on pages or what? No?
Go ahead and
Okay.
finish up here, we'll break for lunch.
Okay, and this is another way of doing it, is cutting out the bodies and pasting the bodies in. I never knew what I was going to do from page to page. I just knew I overshot. I didn't really overshoot. I mean, there were so many people there. I had to find some way. No, the judges did not like this. They said it was busy.
Well, I can understand how judges would have problems with that.
Yeah.
But your client would.
But the
Yeah,
client,
there's a difference between merits and green
right,
lights.
right, exactly,
Pay your bills.
exactly. And you know, the mother looked at this and she went, "Oh my gosh, there's so-and-so. Oh my God, everybody's got great expressions. Oh, look at this." And it made me feel so good. I really wanted them to open the album in front of me because I'd never worked so hard on an album before. This is the mother of the groom, and they didn't have a throw bouquet, so I went over and plucked the flowers off the top of the cake and said, "Will this do?" I mean, improvise, right? So she throws it. Here it is right here. The mother did a belly flopper, and now the groom's picking her up. I mean, I love that sequence. They'll never forget that. And then closure. You have to have something for closure. And one last really quick story before we go here. That's the dredge, okay? It was 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and I knew that I had to do something for closure. In fact, it burned a little too hot on her dress in that archway. But anyway, walked outside. These are her exact words. She goes, "Ah, a breath of fresh air. I've got to pee." And so she walked off the end of the plank. She hopped off the cement there and down into the dirt along the river, hiked up her gown and squatted. And at that very moment, this police cruiser came around the corner and stopped and turned on the spotlight on her, and the groom's standing there going like this, which looks like you're waving for help, and he's going, "Everything's okay, everything's okay." And my assistant's standing there going, "Take the shot, take the shot." I'm going, "No, I can't do this. Take the shot. No, I can't do this." It was so funny. And click. I mean, she was so wasted anyway. She would not have known the difference. But anyway, it's not an award-winning closure shot, but it's closure, and they love it, and that's what counts. And so, ta-da, that was
What
my
did the last page say?
my album. It said, and they lived happily ever after. Not may they, and they lived happily ever after. Signet and Bari. Lunchtime.
Did you sign your name there?
Yes. Thank you.